primordial energy source. The moment it entered his body, Achilles felt like he was burning alive. Every cell, every particle inside him flared to life, restless, ravenous, and overflowing with motion. His body became a storm of energy, the chaos within pulsing with a rhythm that felt both foreign and divine. He'd always carried different energies within him. The purple seas from his organic crystal assimilations, the green tides from his terrestrial body assimilations, and faint rivers of lunar and solar energy weaving through them. But this was different. As the primordial energy flooded in, a new sea took shape inside him, a vast golden ocean that shimmered with creation itself. Its arrival wasn't gentle. It roared into existence, reshaping everything it touched. And it wasn't alone. The energy was bound to something deeper, an imprint of peak foundation physiology, likely a gift from the being whose power he'd touched, the avatar of the ancient satyr, Jolbakken. That physiology was monstrous in its efficiency. Every muscle, every vein, every thread of his essence seemed built to grow without limit. Paired with accelerated growth, the effect was overwhelming. His body surged with movement, his energy cycling faster, sharper, stronger. He tested it instinctively, placing his feet on the shattered ground, and instantly began absorbing the organic and inorganic terrestrial body once more. Verdant energy poured into him like an ocean breaking its dam. But this time, something different happened. His rate of assimilation skyrocketed. Twice, no, 3 times faster than before. Yet his existence corruption value barely moved. In fact, it was dropping. He froze, eyes widening as he stared at the shifting data before him. When he stopped assimilating, the corruption value continued to decrease, little by little. Impossible, he whispered. Primordial energy wasn't just powerful, it was purifying. It countered the one thing that had always held him back. Until now, the only limit to his growth had been existence corruption. Every powerful assimilation carried the risk of unraveling his being. The higher it rose, the closer he drifted toward oblivion. He'd always feared what might happen at 50%, let alone 100%. But primordial energy, this golden miracle, was rewriting that law. It devoured corruption. It cleansed it. His eyes burned with light. He resumed absorbing everything around him, his body trembling with newfound excitement. Vines sprouted across the ground, slithering outward, latching onto the scattered crimson-gold primordial corrupted crystals that Jolbakken had unleashed. Each crystal shimmered as his assimilation threads reached them, drawing their energy into him. One by one, he could feel the changes deepening, his energy refining, his body evolving. But beneath that rush came thought. If the ancient satyr possessed power like this, what kind of beings were they? What kind of world had they lived in, before humanity, before recorded time? If the ethereal physiology master Axino was right, and this world wasn't meant for humans at all, then perhaps creatures like Jolbakken were its true heirs. And if all of them had access to primordial energy, accelerated growth, and peak foundation physiology, their strength must have been unfathomable. No wonder Axino had warned that humanity stood no chance against what was coming. Achilles' thoughts raced. The deeper he went, the more it felt like he was uncovering truths no one was meant to see. But instead of fear, he felt clarity. If ancient beings like these still lingered or ever rose again, then strength wasn't optional. It was survival. He needed to assimilate everything, to push his ability to its absolute limit. His power, was different from anything else in the world. It was limitless, but only if he had time. Danger, he realized, wasn't something to avoid. It was the gate to evolution. Becoming a lunary enforcer had led him here, to this incursion, to these primordial crystals, and now to this power. The greater the risk, the greater the opportunity. As long as he could manage the corruption and keep assimilating, no being, ancient or otherwise, would ever threaten him or rose again. The ethereal physiology master might be powerful, but with primordial energy generation, Achilles was already stepping beyond him. Hum. His eyes glowed gold as vines coiled tighter around two more crystals, devouring them whole. The crimson gold brilliance surged through him, the assimilation rate for the primordial energy source climbing. 75%. Just one more. He could feel it. The threshold to the first echelon was within reach. His body pulsed with light, 5 new multicolored meridians blooming within him like stars being born. Then, as he reached for the next crystal, he paused. The crimson gold clouds swirling above weren't just mist. His eyes focused, gleaming with realization. There were streams of faint golden light woven through them, pure, tangible energy. And without hesitation, his mind roared the command. Assimilate. The world itself seemed to tremble in response. A vast crimson gold cloud loomed above the battlefield, its oppressive presence pressing down on every advanced human in sight. Their powers faltered. Their instincts screamed. Even the strongest among them felt a creeping dread, a primal warning that something far beyond their understanding was stirring. Major Enu, fighting at the front, felt it in his bones. Major David and Eloise, stationed further back, felt it too, like their very souls were being crushed beneath the weight of the heavens. The peak meridian transformation fighters unleashed every ounce of strength to keep the clouds back. But the haze didn't scatter. It spread, slowly, endlessly, as if it intended to swallow the sky itself. And then, whap, a flash of golden light. The crimson gold clouds vanished. Completely. One instant they were there, massive and eternal. And the next they were gone, leaving behind stunned silence. No one understood what had happened. No one but one man. Boom. Deep within Achilles, something detonated. It felt like swallowing an entire storm. His body flooded with impossible energy, the golden sea of primordial power expanding violently inside him. At the same time, his existence corruption value began to fall. Not stabilize, decrease. Even while he was still actively absorbing the terrestrial planetary body, the corruption retreated. He opened his interface, and new text burned into view. Primordial energy source, echelon I, primordial corrupted crystal, primordial corrupted clouds. Assimilation, 91%. Primordial energy generation I. Peak foundation physiology I. Accelerated growth I. Atavism I. He devoured the entire crimson gold cloudscape in one go. The completion of the first echelon came with a surge of light so powerful that every meridian in his body flared open like shattered jewels. New channels formed freely, unrestrained, as his organs pulsed with multicolored energy. While the others stared skyward in disbelief, Achilles used the chaos to reach out with his vines, quietly latching onto the remaining primordial corrupted crystals. The giant shards melted into shimmering liquid and vanished into him. The percentage climbed. 95%. 98%. Then, boom, his entire being erupted. He wanted to scream, to release the energy tearing through his veins. His meridians glowed so brightly they nearly burst from his skin. And then, suddenly, all light vanished. Whoa! The brilliance faded from his limbs, his chest, his entire body. The meridians that had shone like constellations went dark. But they hadn't disappeared. He could feel them, hidden, alive. Only faint traces remained visible, tiny motes of purple, green, and gold deep in his eyes. Everything else masked. He understood immediately. Primordial energy source, echelon 2. Primordial energy generation 2. Peak foundation physiology 2. Accelerated growth 2. Atavism 2. Primal energy control 2. Primal energy control. He could now seal every pore, every leak of aura, compressing all his power inward until not a trace escaped. To anyone watching, he looked perfectly human. Inside, however, he held 61 meridians and counting. The average advanced human barely reached 50. Achilles was far past that, his golden sea of energy stirring the others into motion. And his existence corruption value? It had hit 0. Even as he continued assimilating, it refused to rise. He was evolving beyond limitation. His body thrummed with divine hunger, his very cells singing with the need for more primordial energy. He closed his eyes, sensing the ripple of events he'd just caused. Boom! The earth quaked. Ethereal Master Axano's body smashed into the ground, shards of silver mirror scattering. Above him, Lunarian Enforcer Selene hovered, her cold gaze fixed on the monstrous figure before her. The avatar of the ancient satyr, Jolbakken. Dozens of radiant mirrors floated behind her, firing beams of silver light toward the ancient being. The satyr laughed, his voice ancient and filled with disdain. The ant from long ago have grown bold. Even in this frail vessel, you dare erase my forming domain. His golden eyes flared, scanning Selene and the three ethereal physiology masters who appeared beside her. He didn't care which of them had destroyed his clouds. It didn't matter. They were still ants. Be empowered, my apostles. Crimson gold beams exploded from his form, crashing into the warriors below. One struck Axano, who was struggling to rise. His aura surged violently, an illusory star igniting above him as his wings burst into flaming rings. Other beams found the peak meridian transformation apostles, igniting their meridians one after another until their bodies blazed with ethereal physiology, a forced, unstable kind powered by their own burning potential. It was madness, power beyond reason. Above, noblesse vessels and golden trading company ships descended, the sky turning into a field of colliding factions. The colony city of Neon had become an all-out war zone. Amid the chaos, Rose stood beside Achilles, her green flames flickering against the storm of gold and crimson. "What do we do, little fatty?" she asked, her voice tight with resolve. Achilles met her gaze, calm, unreadable. He saw what others couldn't. The apostles' newfound power wasn't true evolution. It was a shortcut, a reckless ignition of their own life force. A false ethereal physiology. Temporary. Fragile. He could see it clearly. And because of that, he didn't feel fear. Only certainty.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support, we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
Achilles did not fear. He felt the terrifying waves of primordial energy still budding within him as 71 meridians were now unlocked. A major reason being the fact that the percentage of the organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body had reached 92%. This, in addition to the fact that the primordial corrupted energy empowering Apostle Lotus held no effect on him due to the genuine pure primordial energy he held, made him confident in surviving even if the distant avatar of the ancient satyr turned his attention towards him. Just confident in survival, but not being able to beat such a monster. Not yet, anyway. He saw the many ethereal physiology masters gathering from all around as they would handle that monster for now. But in the back of his mind, he wondered, how would it feel to assimilate an avatar of an ancient one? Are you fuckers truly spacing out at this moment? I walked all slow and everything to build up your fear, you know? But you fools did not even try running. The voice of Apostle Lotus rang out towards Achilles and Rose as near them. Major Inu came over along with other peak meridian transformation advanced humans with grim expressions. They all looked like they were ready to die as Achilles looked at them while shaking his head. Don't worry. She may look powerful, but think of her like someone pumped with steroids momentarily. Just inflated muscles that aren't anything like the real thing. His words caused a descent of silence. His voice was low, but Apostle Lotus heard it clearly. Even Lunarian Enforcer Selene, who stayed close to them due to their status as transcendent, heard this as her gaze flickered while she gazed towards Axano and the avatar of the ancient satyr. She snapped her hands as 2 silver discs erupted from her and came to float above Achilles and Rose, her intention being to add a layer of protection for them in case anything happened. her voice ringing out in their ears. No matter what, stay alive. Stay alive. Achilles only briefly glanced towards her silver figure as he intended to do this and more. Those around him became a little braver after his words, while Apostle Lotus, "You stupid little shitter." Her body visibly trembled with anger as scathing winds filled with crimson crescent moons began to form around her. And yet before she could throw out any of this devastation, a golden cluster of solar light bloomed from Achilles. But it was nothing like before. Before, a beam of solar light was 10 or 20 inches in size. Now, a single beam was bigger than even the height of a human as it towered at 2 meters wide in diameter, and it was filled with an additional golden energy that very few would be able to discern. Primordial energy. It arrived before the newly elevated Apostle Lotus, before she could even blink, and covered her entirely. Boom! An impact of different energies erupted as the figure of Apostle Lotus was flung back heavily, her body smashing into the destroyed debris of glass and bricks before she stopped herself and heaved. She heaved back and forth as her throat felt dry, her body currently holding third-degree burns all around. All layers of skin and subcutaneous tissue were scorched as she felt waves of tremendous pain overwhelm her, her eyes boiling even now as she couldn't see ahead of her. "Ah!" she howled out as her meridians pulsed, bloody tears streaming out of her boiling eyes as she roared out, "What the fuck?" She was not the only one alarmed, with Major Inu and others looking at her scorched figure as they wondered, were his words actually true, that she was immensely weaker than a true ethereal physiology master? They wondered this, but they would soon come to learn what the power of those like Apostle Lotus truly sat at, and that it was another person that was simply too abnormal to be able to injure one the way he did. But this was one battle, and in this decimated landscape filled with debris, there were many battles. In the skies, Lunarian enforcer Selene stood on a silver disk around her. The ethereal glow was particularly radiant as she activated an earpiece in her ear while speaking to it. "Priestess, I think it's time to release Andromeda. Noblesse and the Golden Trading Company are beginning to gather here as well, and the ensuing chaos will only grow larger." "Priestess," she said, the same figure that Major Inu had been talking to regarding Achilles. And from the earpiece, "I will authorize it." The confirmation came. Selene's eyes glowed brightly at this confirmation as she looked to the skies. Whenever unfathomable danger and terror descended upon humans, they looked to the skies. And this time, Selene saw the transparent barrier protecting the colony city of Neon open slightly, the outline of a massive floating vessel barely being discerned as a compartment of it opened, and something shining purple and silver shot down. It passed through the open gap that closed right after, and it looked like a silver-purple pod that opened its doors with hissing noises, and 2 luminous purple eyes opened from this pod, as Selene could barely pick up the voice in her earpiece that captured the sound coming from the pod. "Andromeda has been activated and placed in battle mode. Target has been confirmed. The avatar of the ancient satyr, Jolbakken. Capture preference, alive. Starting with an output of 60% power." From the pod, a humanoid metallic entity came out, her purple eyes radiant as her legs were sharp silver metallic spears, her arms more humanoid as her whole body seemed to be made of precious metals and other materials. It shone silver, but it was filled with 100 dazzling purple meridians. They all flowed together serenely and converged above her head as there 9 illusory purple stars could be seen. Behind her, an aurora of purple wings that felt like the convergence of pure fantastical power buzzed. "Andromeda," Selene called out to it, as she felt a sense of reverence and fear for this weapon designed by the researchers of the Linares Colony Overseers. Andromeda, a weapon of the Linares Colony Overseers. Its first public testing site would be the colony city of Neon. As the moment its body appeared in the skies, Selene heard its feminine voice as its head became clear. Its skin looked silver, but the head of Andromeda carried a glossy humanoid sheen that showed beauty and ferocity, her silver hair whipping around madly in the wind. Engaging target. Just 2 words. Selene heard them when Andromeda was still in the skies. But in the moment that followed, the purple wings behind her buzzed as she entirely disappeared. Selene moved her eyes around to capture it, but it was nowhere to be seen. She couldn't even follow it as shockingly. She only heard a deep impact below. She instantly honed in on the point of impact, as there, a stunned figure of the avatar of the ancient satyr could be seen as behind it. Andromeda held one of its wings that was entirely severed. Her right hand dripped with crimson gold blood as the torn wing in her hand disappeared with purple radiance. Selene hearing her voice again. Sample of target acquired. Proceeding with incapacitation and capture. The 9 stars above her spun as she moved, and an enraged avatar of an ancient one just now reacted with an enraged bellow as near him. A crystalline jagged flower erupted that pushed everything away. The metallic silver body of Andromeda blocked as this sudden change shocked many. The 3 ethereal physiology masters who were facing the avatar finally let out a breath while in the distance. Those of the Noblesse and Golden Trading Company were shocked. Crack! Andromeda waved her hands that were bathed with tendrils of purple radiance. The jagged crimson gold crystals becoming crushed like sheets of paper as she moved towards the avatar of the ancient satyr without fear. A terrifying weapon of the Linares colony overseers. On this day, it was unveiled for all to see as many perceptions would be changed. Selene finally breathed a sigh of relief at this before she turned her head to Apostle Axino and other apostles who now pulsed with power at the ethereal physiology stage. She switched to another earpiece as she spoke to the 3 Linares ethereal physiology masters in the skies. Andromeda will handle the avatar, focus on detaining the apostles, and limiting casualties. She was less powerful than one of the ethereal masters who held 3 dazzling, illusory stars above his head, but she could still give the 3 of them directions, as her position was a unique one. As she said this, she turned her head towards Achilles and Rose. The transcendence that the priestess was paying attention to. She expected them to be struggling, if even just a little, but sheesh. She thought that they really stood up to their rank as the apostle that was targeting them had 3rd-degree burns as the crimson wind raged around her, not even being able to see as a beam of solar light thundered down from above. Displaying multiple ability factors so far, just what evaluation will you fit in the end? And I would like to see more about you. Her eyes went towards Rose as she said this, her body flying close to them to ensure their safety as she also targeted the other apostles nearby. Boom! Achilles felt his solar beam smash onto Apostle Lotus once more as the primordial corrupted energy within her body could only protect her so much. The illusory star that had just formed above her head fizzled, her meridians becoming scorched and torn as her newly formed ethereal physiology broke apart. One's physiology can be broken apart. Achilles' eyes were bright at learning such a thing, as it seemed the moment the connected meridians inside the body of an ethereal physiology master were severed, their entire physiology began breaking down. And this was shown by the barely breathing Apostle Lotus, who twitched like a horrific burn victim, her body glowing dimly as she could no longer even move. A newly risen ethereal physiology master, even if it was a fake one at that, was taken down. Major Inu looked at such a scene with a sense of wonder as he waved his hands. Bag and tag her. Take them in alive rather than dead. The first ethereal physiology apostle was taken down among those who were newly advanced, and the takedown went to Achilles. Rose walked shoulder to shoulder with him as currently. Her eyes showed shock and amazement as she looked into the distant battle that had impacts even spreading out all the way here. And how could she not? Even Achilles' eyes were locked into it as near the bloodied portal, the avatar of the ancient satyr, Julbakken, had become enraged at this moment while fighting against what seemed to be a robotic human. Something shining with silver radiance and sharp sickle-like legs, with vibrant purple meridians covering her as she moved like a terrifying weapon. Around her and the avatar, The earth cracked as the landscape itself changed. Abomination. A roar with an ancient word could be heard from the Avatar as crimson gold primordial corrupted crystals gushed around him in a ring, seeking to pierce his enemy as... Boom! She simply swept her enemies just like this, if not more powerful. Achilles heard this as his eyes shone brightly. Even now, he wanted to know what assimilating that Avatar of the ancient satyr would grant him. If there were many more like him, maybe not just avatars, but even more terrifying ones? He thought of many possibilities as he looked at the jagged crystals continuing to be shot out ahead, and his vines silently stretched out toward the area of the battle while he and Rose began to pull back with Major Inu and others, forming a ring on one side as ethereal physiology master Selene stood near them. Selene was watching everything with sharp eyes, as even in her silver, purple, Lunarian, Enforcer Meridian armaments, her blessed figure could not be hidden. Of course, Achilles did not even spare a glance or leer at her figure. With Rose beside him, could another woman even come close to her proportions? So he was not actively looking at her, but she did come near him at this moment as she looked him up and down and spoke out in a soft voice. How did you manage to hide your meridians? This is something I had to be taught for months, with the method not even open to the masses. Her silver eyes were sparkling like glazed mirrors as they reflected the figure of Achilles. And towards her question, a figure bathed in dancing green flames was reflected on these mirrors as Rose appeared between Achilles and Selene. Hey there, I'm Rose. Are you curious why my meridians are out in the open for everyone to see? There was a heavy battle occurring in the distance, and yet Rose stood in front of Achilles as she saw a gorgeous woman trying to peek into his secrets. Achilles could not help but give a silent thumbs up as he watched with curiosity while wondering, could Rose actually get jealous of another woman just talking with him? Selene was surprised at her interjection as she laughed lightly while shaking her head. Girlie, I'm not here to steal your man. Both you and him are considered important advanced humans to work with, as I'm just trying to get to know him better. No other intentions. Okay. No other intentions, she said, and Rose nodded at such words with a smile, but she did not believe them at all. A woman always knew. Call it intuition. She had a sense for these things as her eyes maintained their distrust, but she remained calm and cordial. You can get to know me then. Ask me anything. My favorite food? Am I a morning person? Cats or dogs? She smiled calmly as she said this, her eyes and Selene's eyes meeting in a clash. At the same time that this occurred, Achilles felt an explosion inside of his body, as if a dam had been broken and raging waters were let loose. It was because he had a sudden burst of verdant seas of energy, his body feeling like it assimilated 10 times the amount of water from the endless sea that was the organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body than all the waters he had absorbed before this. It was a sign that the blockade from the first to the second echelon had been broken, and the result was astounding. All around him, it felt like everything quieted down. It felt like he momentarily could not see. But an instant later, all feeling returned. All feeling returned, but it was in no way the same. He was looking ahead, but he felt like he could see all around him, behind him, above him, below him. He felt the slightly rumbling earth and land below. He felt the skies above, the airflows permeating across the skies. He felt the humans standing around him. All of them seemed like connections of waves of energy within a system, as each carried its own brightness. The meridian transformation advanced humans were bright, but the ethereal physiology masters were luminous. And then there was his Rose, incandescent, pulsing with waves of verdant radiance that looked more beautiful to him than anything else. He saw her and many more things as he could even feel every beating heart and every circulation of energy, whether it be the purple waves of energy he now knew to be evolutionist energy, or the golden waves of energy he knew to be primordial energy that the distant Avatar was using freely. He saw all of this as he felt like he was connected to the very pulse of the world around him. And truly he was. His eyes didn't even have to open as he was able to visualize the status panel and how drastically it had changed. Achilles Maxwell. Assimilation. Organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body echelon 2. Obtain the qualities of planetary force field 2, gravitational field manipulation 2, world healing 2, limited astronomical physiology 2, and ecological empathy 2. Organic crystal, evolutionous crystal, echelon 3, 29.335%. Obtain qualities of regeneration 3, energy conversion 3, flexibility 3, light manipulation 3, biological nurturing 3, crystal manipulation 3, and crystal vault 3. Primordial energy source echelon 2. Obtain the qualities of primordial energy generation 2, peak foundation physiology 2, accelerated growth 2, atavism 2, and primal energy control 2. Organic phanerogam life form echelon 3. Obtain qualities of dermal armor 3, regeneration 3, photosynthetic 3, lightning physiology 3, abnormal endurance 3, vine generation 3, and pheromone generation 3. Non-luminous moon light echelon 1. Gain qualities of lunar generation eye, innate lunar barrier eye, luniportation eye, and reflect eye. Sunlight echelon 1. Gain qualities of solar generation eye, innate solar barrier eye, solar empowerment eye, and solar conversion eye. Organic arachnida life form echelon 1. Gained qualities of poison generation eye, appendage generation eye, exoskeletal armor eye, physical adherence eye, and thermoreception eye. Existence corruption value, 1%. Complexity, extremely weak terrestrial life form. His eyes overlooked everything until they ultimately locked onto the culprit. Ecological empathy 2 from attaining the second echelon of the organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body, something that allowed him to feel and be in tune with the immediate surroundings he was in. And this included everything: the land below him and the skies above, and the life forms moving around him. He saw how energy moved across an apostle's meridians before it was released as an output of power a moment later. He saw the illusory stars above the ethereal physiology masters flash and gather energy from all meridians simultaneously as they exploded with shocking power. He saw the avatar of the ancient satyr, Jolbakken, and the creature it faced. As if his ears could pick up related information from nature, he heard a vibrational frequency of a voice from the silver-purple humanoid robot that traveled upwards and also resounded within an earpiece in the right ear of Selene. Target's emotional state is becoming increasingly erratic. Another sample has been obtained and sent to storage. A feminine monotone voice. A voice that in response had another voice ring out right after, as they seemed to be talking in an encrypted channel nobody should be able to hear. Good. If the target can be incapacitated and brought in alive, this is the perfect outcome. If they become increasingly dangerous and erratic, you have the authority to kill Andromeda. Selene, pull the transcendent humans and other lunar enforcers away from this location. Jacoby and the others will oversee the cleanup. A commanding voice echoed out as Achilles listened in clearly. At the same time, the hums of the engines could be heard as aerial Linaris drones and a Lunarian enforcer warship made their descent from the skies. Achilles feeling the hums of their engines and constant pulsating between evolutionist energy and circuits of electricity seamlessly working as one. He even felt the bursts of electrical signals rapidly shooting out around Lunarian enforcer Selene as she turned from Rose and towards him and those behind him. Let's get on the move as the battle here wraps up. You too, you. She pointed to multiple advanced humans as she jumped toward the descending warship that opened its wide doors. Rose looking at Achilles, as even while he was grasping all the fantastical changes of his sensory awareness, half of it was still focused around this girl that he wrapped his arm around the waist of while his body levitated towards the warship. A silent smile hung on his lips as innately. He knew he loved this girl too much. But that was okay. It was not something that made him weaker. In fact, because of that little fact, he was where he was today, as the fear of losing her drove him to enter the evolutionist catacombs initially. He thought about many things, while ecological empathy, too, utterly changed how he observed everything. With his steps light as he entered the warship and followed behind Celine, who was giving out many orders. You two did well today. The remaining part of the battle could just potentially cause issues for those who should not be there, so we will pull aside some of our forces and return to base. She moved her hands with silent commands as she walked. Major Inu moving behind them with others while shouting out orders, as on this warship, crates filled with the bodies of Apostle could be seen. I'm sure you both have many questions. Celine walked ahead as they came into a command center where multiple advanced humans seated on chairs looking at screens and commanding the movements of this huge warship that rose to the skies and shot out in the distance could be seen. On the screens, the battle between Andromeda and the avatar of the ancient satyr, Jolbakken, continued and was even recorded up close. We will try answering some questions while getting you guys ready for what is to come. Celine smiled radiantly towards Rose as she snapped her fingers to those in this command center. Set destination to Fort Cape of Hope and clear out the room for a second. Help tag the rest of the prisoners and their past identities out there. Multiple advanced humans moved quickly after receiving this order, the massive warship being set on autopilot, as in less than a minute. Only Lunarian Enforcer Celine, Achilles, and Rose remained in this room. Celine let her vibrant hair down as she sat on one of the chairs facing the screens of the ongoing battle where they had just left. Achilles could sense the beat of her heart that was calmer, the signals her body constantly sent being just as active as he walked with Rose to grab seats. This girl grabbing two and sticking them together as she sat close to him like she had to protect him from a dangerous beast. What do you two know about Ancient Ones? Celine asked in a low tone as Achilles felt the humming warship flitter across the city of Neon, all sorts of stimuli falling into his mind as Rose was the one to reply beside him. Apart from what we heard today, nothing. Ancient Ones, catacombs, that this world was one they used to walk on before all of this. They heard many things today that could entirely change one's perception of their current world, but they took things a step at a time. Celine nodded as she made the screen of the ongoing devastating battle bigger, showing an enraged ancient satyr as he was getting manhandled by Andromeda, both of his wings torn while he continued to erupt out with primordial corrupted crystals, with half of his body even covered by a crimson gold crystalline armor as he fought madly. The Linares colony overseers have learned of many things, as some are still conjecture, and some have been confirmed. But I can tell you that what you saw here today will not be the last time. As of now, we still have the capability to handle it, as I'm sure you have questions on just what is fighting against the avatar of the ancient satyr. What I can tell you now is that it is the latest combination of our technology and evolutionist crystals, the brainchild of a transcendent human, just like you too, Dr. Shaw. We call her Andromeda Linares Sentinel AX1. Wah! The screen showing the cold expression on Andromeda became magnified as her hand shot out and caused the eruption of purple crystalline spears, her commanding presence against an ancient one unable to be matched as she wiped the floor with him. Around the same time that all of this occurred, after Achilles has absorbed 10 times the amount of waters on the metaphorical sea of the organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body than all previous assimilations combined. Under the radiant city of Neon, there were arrays of countless snaking pathways and roads leading to unknown destinations. Catacombs. Within the depths of the catacombs, past snaking pathways that no advanced humans from the city of Neon had entered. Explore more at my virtual library empire. At an extremely distant place with the catacombs, past terrifying meridian transformation, evolutionist beasts, and ethereal physiology behemoths. In a region within the depths of the catacombs that had its own vibrant skies and dead earth, the ground cracked and bulged up as if something buried deep within had its restrictions loosened and was coming up. From the depths of the cracks, there was a sense of surprise as a heavy and thick voice filled with age rang out. Far too early? The ground within the depths of the catacombs cracked and bulged up as inside of it. An ancient voice boomed out before two hands rose to split apart the earth even more. Root-like bindings covered the decrepit hands that emerged, the earth of the catacombs splitting apart more and more as ultimately a head rose out. Ah! The voice was dry as the coldest desert, with the sound grating to ears, as what came out was a decrepit humanoid entity whose bodily proportions were eerie to see. She stretched out her limbs as her mouth opened wide, revealing extremely sharp canines that looked more like fangs. The face of this being was gray and haggard as it looked malnourished, but smiled devilishly at this moment while its nose smelled the sweet scent of blood near these areas of the catacombs. The great Impuza has finally regained clarity once more, even if it is early. Just who could loosen the integrity of the ionic chains of this deadly plane? The ionic chains. They bound far too much, as if there was something causing these chains to break loose. She had to move fast. If she was waking, so were the others. It also meant that soon, ionic resources would begin to gush out with wild abandon as everything became revitalized. If I am to attain the power I had at my peak, and even go further, I will need blood. Lots and lots of blood. Woo! Her eyes flashed with a crimson radiance as a gray tongue licked extremely sharp canines. For a moment, she stopped thinking about who or what could have been the cause for the ionic chains of this region she was in to be loosened. She began sniffing as her limbs crawled out of the hole unnaturally, and she sought blood. Aboard a Lunarian Enforcer warship that was making its descent on the other end of the colony city of Neon. Inside a room with just 3 people, Celine chose her words carefully as she talked to Rose and Achilles. Those are the basics. The word underwent changes decades ago, with the Evolutionist catacombs emerging, and it seems we are due for another round of change. We were unprepared back then, as even nuclear arms were not enough, and this time around, we're doing our best to be prepared. Her gaze was stern. She seemingly held the weight of many things on her shoulders as she continued. Back then, it was evolutionist beasts. Now, we still consider them evolutionist beasts, even if they call themselves ancient ones. Simply a higher form of evolutionist beasts. Even if they come with stories and say they used to walk these lands before. Even if they claim Athemia used to be theirs. There are thousands of colony cities across Athemia that are constantly mining more and more evolutionist crystal, with the population of humans having boomed to the billions easily once more. Do they really think they can still claim this world as theirs? Achilles, who still sensed everything with utmost clarity, felt the blood within Celine genuinely pumping as she said this. As the Lunarian Enforcer warship landed, Celine got up with a firm gaze as she finished up. These so-called ancient ones do not know how far we have come with our technology and the inclusion of the evolutionist crystals. Andromeda is only a small part in the grander scheme of things to come as today. I will give you too an introduction to the true Lenars colony overseers, and what it is that you can expect from us, and what we can expect from you as transcendents. She made it clear as Achilles nodded, Rose silently standing beside him lost in thought, as at this time, he heard the voice he wasn't supposed to be hearing from the earpiece again. Bring them to the main encampment research building. I think it is time for an introduction as these two, especially that Achilles is proving to be someone that could even exceed the ridiculousness of the summoning anomaly. A voice communicating just with Celine, as after she heard it, she didn't even bat an eye as she voiced out. Come on. They followed her off the Lunarian Enforcer warship as they came to a unique location. When the doors of the warship opened and they saw outside, Achilles realized they were someplace special. The warship was on a landing field as in the distance. Rows of purple-green trees stretched out, a silent transparent barrier covering dozens of miles away and encapsulating the skies as they seemed to be in an entirely different place than the colony city of Neon they knew. Upon closer observation as the senses of ecological empathy too spread out, he saw the distant colony city of Neon down below. While they seemed to be in an encapsulated floating landmass that was actually invisible to the eyes of those down below. And this floating landmass had grandiose purple-white buildings rising up as it was a location many did not even know about in the skies of the colony city of Neon. Let's go. We have arrived at Fort Cape of Hope. Continue reading stories on my virtual library empire. Lunarian enforcer Celine smiled as she saw them looking around, her gaze towards one of the larger purple-white buildings on this floating mass of land and vessel that was known as the Fort Cape of Hope. As this occurred, down below, Achilles still had crystal vines that did not absorb or reflect too much light, allowing them to be somewhat transparent by letting light pass through, so one could barely see them in this chaotic battle. Because they were an extension of his limbs, he could utilize ecological empathy through them and see everything clearly, and he was able to slide the vines near the primordial corrupted crystals lying around near the chaotic battle as they distorted their surroundings by releasing waves of primordial corrupted energy. And he would seamlessly and silently approach them before he assimilated them, massive jutting crystals disappearing out of nowhere without anyone knowing why. His transparent crystal vines also neared another thing, a regretting advanced human who was surrounded by crackling blue lightning while Apostle fought around him. Amos, the reason why Achilles came here to start with. Amos, the one that had nearly cost them their lives multiple times. It was a loose end that Achilles would not leave alone as the top of a transparent crystal vine quietly snaked over. Achilles could feel the tumultuous emotions, the fear and sense of regret that the impulses of Amos had. It was hard to guess this was the same man bragging about others not even being able to say no to him not too long ago. Achilles tried to just imagine what would have happened if he was not able to assimilate anything. If he, even in the best-case scenario, was just another normal advanced human. He would still be at lower body modification along with Rose, and with such power, wouldn't Amos have been able to send even a few upper-tier body modification advanced humans to kidnap them, to kill him, and do whatever he wanted to Rose? Just imagining what could have been if he didn't have the power he held infuriated him, the sharp end of the crystal vine shooting out. Poison generation, I was fully activated as, like a small pinpoint needle, the crystal vine sank in a few inches and released a river's worth of poison into the body of Amos. Poison that was tremendously empowered compared to before as currently. There were 89 dazzling meridians that only Achilles could see vibrating in his body. What could a lesser meridian transformation advanced human do against it? The moment Amos noticed it, he felt immense rising pain on his leg, as by the time he looked down, a horrid greening color was traveling up his leg and crossing his thigh, rapidly spilling into his stomach before it spread across all other parts of his body in seconds. In seconds, his skin turned a shade of poisonous green as it began to split and crack, decay spreading rapidly as by the time he even began to scream in horror, his brain was already filled with poison as his neurons stopped firing, his makeup melting rapidly as skin and muscle sloughed off entirely. To the horror of those nearby, Amos' body simply became filled with green before it broke down and became a puddle of messy gore soon after. Please. They threatened me, cries echoed out nearby as silently. A transparent vine pulled away to focus on assimilating more primordial corrupted crystals as the battle between the terrifying weapon of the Linares colony overseers and the avatar of the ancient satyr, Jolbakken, was gradually nearing its end as the latter bellowed out. Fine. You forced me this far. You shall at least pay a price worthy of this avatar. And then, just wait for me to truly arrive. Flute of madness. HUM. A manic dissonance of a sound began to spread as, in the hands of the avatar of the ancient satyr, a crimson gold flute appeared. It pulsed with heavy waves of primordial corrupted energy as the moment it came out. An attack with high potential mass lethality had been initiated, proceeding to terminate target. Andromeda moved. Her two hands came together as the 9 stars above her head spun, and a blinding purple light that many would not be able to forget erupted out. In the surroundings, the skies quivered as the earth quaked, a satyr beginning to dance in the skies even with its wings clipped while a devastating attack was released from a terrifying weapon. The flute of madness. Its sound waves spread out nearby, as any who heard it felt their energies run amok as they began to dance. Their expressions constantly shifted from those of sadness, happiness, anger, and madness as they danced to a horrid tune, and no matter what they did, their bodies did not listen to them. The more the sound waves spread, the more people that were affected, as even though it took a bit over a second before the terrifying purple brilliance shot out by Andromeda reached the ancient satyr, many were still affected. Boom! A blinding impact akin to the explosion of a purple sun spread out, anything nearby being flung back, as even meridian transformation advanced humans at a far distance were flung back like body bags. Many were injured, but even with broken limbs and torn skin bleeding all around, they all rose up and continued to dance with expressions of madness on their faces. They weren't the only ones affected, as even the ethereal physiology masters from the Linares colony overseers could be seen moving their bodies in sequences, but they were at least able to control their expressions as they showed astonished and enraged faces. Andromeda confirmed all of this while she voiced out as she looked at a scorched avatar with half of its body disintegrated, flute still in hand. Target avatar, the ancient satyr, Jolbakken, has been neutralized. An area of effect curse had been applied to all life forms in the containment area, with the range estimated to be 2 miles in diameter. Affected life forms are observed to be experiencing a leakage of their energy as they uncontrollably laugh and cry while performing dissonant movements, awaiting further orders. A heavy battle ended, but in its wake, a unique phenomenon unfolded. Far from here, on the invisible fort floating in the skies, Fort Cape of Hope, Achilles followed Selene into a tall building filled with shining purple-white walls, all parts of it screaming richness and complexity as near its perimeter. Multiple meridian transformation advanced humans adorned in purple evolutionist suits stood guard. As they passed through multiple entrances that required Lunarian enforcer Selene to scan her hand and energy signature, they were crossing through a silent hallway when Achilles heard the words of Andromeda in the earpiece, which caused the expression of Selene to flicker. The battle in the Titan district of Neon has ended, but not without some unforeseen effects. It will be dealt with later, as for now. Whoosh! Massive reinforced metal doors clicked and unwound before them as they opened and released bursts of pressure, eventually opening to reveal a wide area akin to a vast warehouse. Rings of transparent glass covered everything in the outer periphery as they contained a singular object of wonder at the center. Protected by cylinders of glass, a dazzling, massive, evolutionist crystal the size of a 2-story building could be seen at the very center. The figure of a woman in a lab coat surrounded by 2 robotic humanoid entities to her left and right, turning around to see them at this moment. As she pushed her glasses up, her vibrant voice echoing out as Achilles recognized it to be the one that had been speaking into Selene's earpiece this whole time. Experience more tales on my virtual library empire. Welcome to the main encampment research building, Transcendence of the Human Race. A woman in a lab coat, the figures of robotic silver-purple humans similar to Andromeda visible to her left and right. Similar to Selene, she had radiant silver hair, but her eyes shone with hues of both purple and silver. Achilles looked at her. He also had ecological empathy to naturally sense her and everything else around her, a few things surprising him and making him extremely cautious. One was the massive purple evolutionist crystal that radiated terrific waves of evolutionist energy, and it seemed like something that would come out of an unbelievably powerful creature, or something else entirely. Then, there were the 2 robic figures beside her that shone with plentiful meridians and 6 dazzling, illusory stars above them. More Andromedas? But even these, Achilles could see and not be surprised by. But the woman in the lab coat herself. She smiled lightly as she looked at him and rose while introducing herself. I am Luna. Every now and then, you might hear me referred to as the priestess. Luna. Whoa. Even Rose let out a surprise when she looked at this woman, her levels of beauty unique as they carried an ancient charm, a charm not readily observable in the current age. But more than this, Achilles could feel within the body of Luna primordial energy. Primordial, different from the crimson gold, primordial corrupted energy of the avatar of the ancient satyr, Jolbakken. It was silver in radiance, and it was profoundly heavy, unlike the avatar as currently. Her body showed flashing and disappearing meridians as her power could not be easily estimated. But the sense of possible danger Achilles could feel from her was very real. Seeing her, he felt like he was unearthing ancient secrets, as this woman was a core power of the Linares colony overseers, who were fighting evolutionist beasts and seemingly getting themselves and everyone ready to fight against incoming ancient ones and their forces. And yet in the high ranks of the Linares colony overseers was an ancient one herself. His eyes were calm as he stared at her. Enjoy more content from my virtual library empire. He didn't show any indication that he knew anything as he nodded towards her, his voice echoing out in reply. Nice to meet you, priestess. I'm curious about the things that Celine here mentioned and what exactly Rose and I are doing here. They were currently designated as Lunarian enforcers, as they could choose to undertake missions on behalf of the Linares colony overseers. They just came back from mission, as Celine told them they would come to understand just what the Linares colony overseers wanted from them, as what they could take from the Linares colony overseers. Luna, the priestess, smiled at his words as she walked towards Rose. I like straightforward ones. Very well. The core reason for you being here is purely due to your status as transcendent humans. The Linares colony overseers have a special relationship with beings such as yourself and Rose here, as we believe you are a force of power that can help tremendously in the tumultuous times to come. But at the same time, you are currently not at your full power. To fight against the truly dangerous creatures that pose a threat to colony cities, we need to unlock the potential of transcendent humans quickly and in an accelerated manner. But at the same time, we were taught a heavy lesson in the past when we poured many resources into a transcendent human, and they turned against us. They joined hands against the very beings we were fighting against. Her eyes showed a sense of genuine sadness from Achilles' point of view, and he continued listening calmly as beside him, Rose was listening intently. Thus, there came a truly delicate relationship as first, we had to instate a period of observation to understand just who we work with. I'm glad to say you two have passed that period of observation, as the assessment made for you two has made many things easier, allowing us to bypass many troublesome protocols. Your history before awakening, though tragic, is clear. My condolences for the loss of your elders, by the way. Luna bowed lightly as with this. Achilles was genuinely surprised. The faces of his parents flashed through his mind as his hand went up to pat Rose's head naturally, knowing how she must feel at this moment with these memories brought up. Thanks, he nodded at her as she raised her head and continued. At this moment, you two have ranked among the highest in terms of psyche and Achilles here, in terms of potential. Our views align, and our supercomputers have deemed you two as extremely viable future deterrents. This is to basically let you know that there are high expectations on our end, as we are ready to fund you and elevate your power at a rapid pace. We just need a show of good faith from your side as well. Missions are the main way of this. You just completed the first one, and your status has been elevated to even have you within Fort Cape of Hope. The more missions you complete, the more we give in return, as almost all missions are geared towards the research or removal of things related to ancient ones. You get more powerful at a rapid pace, while being exposed to what threatens all colony cities. There are other means apart from missions that we deem contributions. Any contributions made to the research of ancient ones, knowledge about things that empower advanced humans, or the prevention of mass casualty events all allow you to gain contributions. There is a transcendent human known as Dr. Shaw who helped us design the Andromeda Sentinels due to their unique power, and they currently hold an unshakable position among the Linares colony overseers. Just for your introduction today to the Fort Cape of Hope, You've gained the chance we have given every transcendent who has been qualified to be here. Luna stopped as she raised her hand to point towards the utterly massive purple crystal behind her. You get the chance to absorb as much as you can in a 1-hour period from this Ionic Evolutionist vein core. It contains the purest type of evolutionist energy that had at times allowed many transcendents to complete their meridian transformation and form their ethereal physiology. We hope to accelerate your growth this way. An Ionic Evolutionist vein core. An opportunity for the acceleration of their growth. Something given to any transcendent humans who had managed to bypass all checkpoints up to this place. The priestess, Luna, smiled as she pointed to such a thing. This will just be one of the many possibilities out there. All of it is for the sake of the future. To ensure the stronghold of colony cities, even when the Ancient Ones and their forces walk across Euthymia. To ensure that when the day comes, we have advanced humans capable of standing against even the strongest Ancient Ones. Our relationship will very much be one of give and take, but we are all working towards the same goal. The safety of Euthymia. After all, it is a beautiful world, and would it not be better to enjoy it if it is not overrun with monstrous life forms? Her smile was vibrant as Achilles looked at Rose. They communicated with their eyes alone, as they knew things were never so simple. With Achilles knowing even more, as he was able to see the primordial energy coursing within Luna, as she should be related to, if not one of the Ancient Ones herself. But, since they were here, since at this moment, their purpose was supposedly for the protection of the colony city of Neon they lived in and other colony cities, and they would provide resources and information. Achilles nodded towards Luna as he replied, "We'll do the best we can on our end." An agreement was made, and the priestess smiled brilliantly while clapping her hands as she motioned for them to come forward. Good. Now, what you see before you is the Ionic Evolutionist vein core, a unique treasure born from the catacombs themselves. Treasures like this seem to gradually be appearing with greater and greater frequency alongside the increased appearance of the Ancient Ones. It has tremendous effects on the forging of one's physiology. If we can boost your power to quickly be established at ethereal physiology, you can display even more of what makes you special. And don't worry. She turned to him and rose as she walked them up a set of stairs to arrive on the platform, where one could be inches away from the Ionic Evolutionist vein core. We know your abilities are your own, as we won't ask you to reveal your secrets. We will trust you to gauge your own level of strength in which type of missions you choose. There have been instances where some transcendent humans chose ethereal missions while they were still at peak meridian transformation, but their power allowed them to climb over the wall and breach ethereal physiology, evolutionist beasts. As you have already shown power capable of exceeding those at the same stage as you, we are especially expectant of your growth from here on out. She made clear their expectations as Achilles and Rose arrived near the massive purple crystal as tall as a building. Continue reading on my virtual library empire. When Achilles looked at this so-called Ionic Evolutionist vein core, his body felt like he wanted to swallow it all up right away, as he could not help but ask, "With this vein core, we can absorb as much as we want in the 1-hour period?" His eyes shone sharply as he asked, intending to test the limits of these new people he would be working with. As toward his question, Luna smiled while Celine, watching in the back, voiced out, "You aren't the only transcendent to think that you could absorb too much and drain the Ionic Evolutionist vein core dry. The last one who asked this asked twice that he wouldn't be liable if he absorbed too much and the vein core was destroyed, but by the end of it, he was only able to dim its brilliance slightly. This isn't something you can think of with common knowledge. So just absorb as much as you can to see if you can unlock enough meridian to establish your physiology." The reply was clear, but Achilles knew himself, while as after he nodded at Celine, he looked at Luna to confirm once more. "Even if we absorb everything, that is more than okay. It will not be held against us." He knew what he was about to do. He was simply getting the clearance to do so without anything being held against him. And Luna, the priestess, smiled once more as she nodded. "In this encampment research building, I am the highest authority. I promise you that you can try absorbing as much as you can, and it will feel like a drop of water in a vast ocean. Absorb as much as you can without reservations. They didn't know anything about him, as they gave such dangerous assurances. And since he had them, he did not worry any further. Beside him, Rose was laughing inwardly as if she knew exactly what he was planning on doing, and she gave him a thumbs up while nudging him forward. You go first, little fatty. I'll go after you're done. Luna and Celine blinked at each other when they heard this before they shook their heads. No matter, it would simply take an extra hour of wait time, as in that time, a lot could be done. Luna was about to give some commands to Celine when suddenly she saw the silver eyes of this Lunarian enforcer begin to bulge out as her mouth began to open in shock. Her eyes became sharp as she turned around at the figure of Achilles that was now touching the surface of the massive crystal. Her pupils buzzed right after as she saw the massive purple crystal that had been moved into this building for months now begin rapidly reducing in size as waves of vibrant light surged into Achilles' body, as if his body was an endless behemoth that devoured everything. They didn't know how he was doing it, but they could only watch in a stupor as a fourth of the ionic evolutionist vein core disappeared in just a second. Luna's expression lost its color as she was just about to open her mouth to say the word wait. But an instant later, the massive crystal seemingly turned into a blur of liquid light that entirely became absorbed into the small body of Achilles. A heavy silence descended in the surroundings. To him, it was but a simple command in his mind. He touched the ionic evolutionist vein core as he felt the exuberant amount of evolutionist energy within it of extreme purity, and it felt many times grander than any single evolutionist crystals he had ever held. While his hand was in contact with it, he called out in his mind, "Assimilate." Woo, slowly at first, to see just how it would be. He felt the whole vein core tremble as his body hungrily took in over a fourth of it in a second, his meridians lighting up as even more innate meridians began to form. The number now exceeded 125, and various parts of his body continued to go from darkness to multicolored brilliance as more meridians were gradually being unlocked. They said that an average of 50 meridians was what most awakened before they established their ethereal physiology. His meridians were already more than double that, and his body still did not feel full. At this moment, he saw the percentage of the organic crystal shooting up like never before. It was a chance to obtain a large burst of power that he did not want to let go of, his body bursting with hunger as he commanded it to assimilate everything. HUM. The whole ionic evolutionist vein core trembled before it turned into seas of purple brilliance that surged into his body. All of it. Instantly, loose wires hung all around as the vast space of a tall building no longer had a vein core. Beep, beep. Warning signs rang out across the room as if a daring theft had just occurred, with Celine turning ashen while Luna had a blank expression. At this moment, Achilles felt the burning waves of brilliance seething within him, his power exploding to unexplored levels as multiple lines of meridians lit up within him until the number reached 164. If it were not for his primal energy control too, the waves of power around him would feel utterly insane right now. But at the same time, he couldn't just show nothing as his thoughts moved rapidly, thinking about the type of relationship that the Lenars colony overseers wanted with those they considered transcendent humans. They wanted someone powerful to help protect the colony cities from the coming threats. He needed his own security alongside Rose, as the way to get it was to get ridiculously stronger by assimilating everything he could. So, I will show you just a glimpse. He played with primal energy control too, and in the next moment his body began to pulse and show the grandeur of 81 dazzling meridians, seemingly balanced and perfected across his body. A storm of brilliantly purple light was then emitted from him as his figure looked utterly glorious, like an ancient general whose body had just attained a paramount state of nature. Rose's dark green flaming hair fluttered as she smiled, knowing her little fatty had just made a tremendous gain. As for her, she would try to get even more, and if she wanted to get even stronger. She touched her lips and thought of what her little fatty could do to fill her up with even more waves of power. She couldn't help but smile to herself as the figure of another woman nearby had her jaws flung open in shock. Luna, the priestess. She had an unknown history as she knew many things, and at this moment, she pointed her hands towards Achilles in shock as she called out while locked onto his 81 meridians. 81. 81. You have attained the peak ancient physiology foundation rare, even in ancient times. Her words were resonant, as she was far too shocked. A current advanced human of this age, with a diluted genetic composition compared to the ancient ones of the past age, was actually able to unlock all 81 meridians of their body and attain the peak ancient physiology foundation. She was alarmed at this as, moments later, she controlled herself while gazing at Achilles up and down. She even wanted to go and examine his body right now, but she stopped herself as she thought about the long-term goal: to raise transcendents who could stand against those monstrous legends she knew would soon wake. Your next chapter awaits on my virtual library empire. Could you truly be one of them? She uttered under her breath, as with an apologetic expression. Achilles turned with eyes of profound innocence as he spoke out. I don't know what happened. My body just took in everything. He had just eaten up a ridiculously massive treasure of the Linares colony overseers. But of course, he had no idea how this could have possibly happened, right? So an innocent, apologetic expression was portrayed on his face as when Luna and Celine heard it. They finally remembered just what was gone to give Achilles the brilliance he currently held. The eyes of Luna were shining brilliantly as she shook her head while hiding a tinge of pain. It is okay. Her eyes looked at the empty spot where a massive ionic evolutionist vein core they had gone through a great deal of trouble to obtain was gone. Something is gone, but in exchange, we have witnessed the birth of a transcendent human with 81 meridians unlocked, where you have attained the peak ancient physiology foundation. The ethereal physiology that could be born from such a foundation would make one unrivaled in the same stage. Unrivaled. This word has meant many things, but it is not an easy one to be distinguished by. Her eyes were so bright that she looked as if she wanted to swallow Achilles whole. Rose raised her brows at such dangerous eyes as a moment later. Luna seemed to have returned to her old self as she cleared her throat and pushed her glasses up. How do you feel? She wondered how a human of this age felt with such a foundation. And Achilles merely raised his hands as he replied calmly, filled with energy, as if something new could bloom at any time. A small lie. His body was filled with dense seas of energy from different sources, but he still did not feel that he was brimming and could not take any more. Nor did he feel the emergence of an ethereal physiology anytime soon. He uttered a small lie, as when he did so, Luna nodded with bright eyes. Yes, ethereal is all but guaranteed for you as your body finishes optimizing your foundation before a smooth establishment of your own unique ethereal physiology. We will have to reassess your potential once more with this, as currently, you are exceeding our assessment. I even see a possible path you can take that could help you form an even more astonishing physiology. She seemed to think of something as she pulled on a tablet hanging on a strap on her left side and began to tap on it. Celine came near her while staring at Achilles with shock as she had heard these legends from Luna whenever she spoke of a different age, but she never expected to see it now. As for Achilles, half of his eyes were on the glowing panel only he could see showing vibrant changes. Organic crystal, evolutionist crystal, echelon 4, obtained qualities of regeneration 4, energy conversion 4, flexibility 4, light manipulation 4, biological nurturing 4, crystal manipulation 4, crystal vault 4, and evolutionist core 4. The first assimilation to reach to 4th echelon. Apart from the empowered states of other qualities, there was the newly gained quality of evolutionist core. This new feature had already begun its wonders as Achilles could feel that in the center of the massive purple seas swirling inside of his body, there was a crystalline solid core beginning to form as it drew in all the surrounding purple seas. An evolutionist core. even though it had just begun to form. The concentration of evolutionist energy within it was reaching an alarming degree, as it seemed like a dense formation of increasing quality and quantity of the vast waves of purple light within him. He still had to study it to see exactly what its effects would do. As for now, he turned to lock eyes with Rose as both of them flashed with understanding, with Achilles turning towards the busy Luna, who was rapidly looking for something on her tablet as he spoke. I feel bad having absorbed everything myself, as this fault lies with me alone. But what about Rose? Yes, he had absorbed the ionic, evolutionist vein core, but Rose had obtained nothing. Achilles and Rose wanted to use this to obtain even more benefits, as Luna glanced up from her screen and replied with a smile. We won't leave anyone behind, and I found exactly what you need for the time being. A mission that requires you to go through catacomb entrance number 2. There is something deep within this catacomb entrance guarded by an ethereal physiology behemoth that should help you form an even more astonishing physiology. The ethereal physiology behemoth has been confirmed to carry a trace of an ancient lineage, as we simply need to confirm which and obtain samples of their blood. What do you think? A possible mission was laid out for them, as its entrance was actually a single number entrance where within its depths there was an ethereal physiology evolutionist beast, an ethereal physiology behemoth. Achilles gauged his own power and what he could feel regarding ethereal physiology masters at this moment, as he nodded his head to agree easily. Good. I'll send you the mission parameter and set up your suits with a video feed. For now, let's get something else for Rose, since the ionic evolutionist vein core happened to disappear. Oh, and we're too attached to the Silverstone estate, or would you be okay with staying within another estate here on Fort Cape of Hope? She was already asking them about relocation to make things easier, as Achilles only replied calmly, while sending the ongoing changes in his body. We should be okay. How did things finish up with Titan Industries? Even though he knew the result, he still asked nonchalantly to cover his bases, as when it came to this, Celine was the one to jump in. We have confirmed the stable pathway of that bloody red portal into a deep region of the catacombs, one where more ancient ones and their forces may be. After it's evaluated and a danger level is assigned, this is another mission that will be put out for Lunary enforcers to take. Her eyes lingered on Achilles and Rose, almost as if telling them this was another mission on the books for them. At this moment, Achilles also felt a sense of urgency, even though he was getting stronger rapidly. There was no harm in rushing to assimilate more and more things, right? The mission to delve into the bloody red portal catacomb entrance was also one he was interested in, as through there he could likely meet more evolutionist beasts with primordial energy for him to assimilate. What happened next was more straightforward than anything, with Luna taking them through more sets of reinforced doors until they arrived inside a room that held multiple evolutionist storage boxes. These were much more pristine and shining with a purple-gold radiance, being smaller than the one they got before, but the space inside undoubtedly bigger. Luna looked past a few of them until she grabbed a small purple-gold box that she gave to Rose. An evolutionist storage box containing 20 years' worth of salary of a Lunarian enforcer. We invest in you, you invest in us, and all the colony cities prosper. Rose was astonished as she grabbed the evolutionist storage box and held it tightly. Not so much so, because she treasured it for herself, but she knew she was saving it for her little fatty. She never absorbed any evolutionist crystals to get where she was, as all she needed was little fatties. She turned a tinge red while thinking about it, as she nodded towards Luna. The priestess only smiled as her lab coat fluttered while she asked, "It's a bit quick to move right after one incursion, but do you two want to start the mission within catacomb entrance number 2 right away?" Time. Achilles did not even think too much about it before he replied, "We'll get started right away." He wanted to be in a mansion with Rose right now, just relaxing, but fun times could wait for later when his strength was even more secure to protect them from anything. Amos was an example he never wanted to see repeat itself again. He wanted to be on the move as soon as possible, and Luna nodded at this as she looked over to Celine. "We do treasure your lives, so we give you the option of having a bodyguard with you if you would like." I could have Celine here come along to your mission within Catacomb Entrance number 2, or if you're confident enough in your power to ensure your lives against a minor ethereal behemoth, you can proceed yourselves. We have only ever observed minor ethereal physiology, evolutionist beasts scattered past this entrance, as no major ethereal behemoths have been observed so far. And of course, the apex ethereal behemoths that are known as city destroyers are behind secured Linares entrances that the public does not even have access to. Those portals leading to the evolutionist catacombs are where we have many of our transcendent humans and powerful ethereal physiology masters scour through. Minor ethereal behemoths, major ethereal behemoths, and apex ethereal behemoths that were also known as colony destroyers. There were terrifyingly powerful evolutionist beasts that the Linares colony overseers protected the city of Neon from that many people did not even know about. Achilles looked at Celine, who seemed enthusiastic to join them as, I'm confident enough in my own power, so we can accomplish this alone. We will also take on the mission to explore the red portal above Titan Industries. The expression of Celine deflated as she showed a sad face at not being wanted, and she let out a harumph right after as Luna smiled while tapping on her tablet. All right, let's finish setting up your recorded video camera that you only need to turn on while battling the ethereal behemoth, and we will have a warship send you down. Preparations were being made as they would soon be on the move again. For Achilles, he felt his body itching to explode with power, as even while he simply stood here, a massive evolutionist core continued to form from the convergence of seas of purple waves of energy, as this alone continued to cause multiple meridians to be unlocked, the total number now standing at 171. His body felt like it packed the force of a missile in a single punch, as he needed an outlet to gauge just how terrifying he had become. At the site where the old building of the Titan Industries used to be, aerial vessels floated with a hum of heavy engines, as the faces of those from the Noblesse and Golden Trading Company were heavy. We need to reevaluate the power that the Linares colony overseers have at their disposal. Inside a pristine purple vessel brimming with royalty, the Noblesse sat on a throne-like chair as a minor ethereal physiology advanced human with a single illusory star above his head spoke. That robotic abomination wiped the floor with an avatar of an ancient one that was stably releasing the air of a major ethereal physiology creature. How many more of those have they created? They seem to be far more advanced than us in this field. Their eyes were somber and filled with worry as they looked down towards the place where a devastating battle had occurred, especially so towards the visage of Andromeda that floated near the red portal with a dangerous light flashing in its eyes. Down below, the area was closed off around the crimson portal that was currently an unexplored and unranked catacomb entrance. Vessels of the Linares colony overseers moved around and secured everything, and there was a containment zone where the people affected by the flute of madness could still be seen dancing in haphazard manner, with not a cure in sight for the meridian transformation advanced humans. But the ethereal physiology masters had at least managed to escape the effects of the uncontrollable movements and madness as their physiologies pushed it out. It was a reminder of how terrifying and mysterious the power of ancient ones could be. Order was slowly brought down as some time passed, many questions being raised regarding Titan Industries that had headquarters not just here, but in other colony cities as well. Many knew that a tumultuous time had arrived where things could change in the blink of an eye. For the colony cities, the one thing they did have was an overabundance of information, and information that traveled fast, as there were always advanced humans who arrived in places for the sake of filming it and spreading everything out to the masses. Journalists and those backed by different organizations. Just like decades ago, when they had functioning media stations and social networks on mobile devices to connect them, all of this and more had been restored after the emergence of the catacombs, as they were now better than ever. But it was restricted, contained. For example, the colony city of Neon had a singular public social network under the banner of the Linares colony overseers, and one could receive the most recent news and alerts and send and receive messages from others, but only within the colony city of Neon. There was no way to communicate with others in different colony cities, for the common humans, that is. A powerful enough advanced human could elevate their privileges as if they had connections to outside colony cities. They would be able to view the happenings and communicate with others there too. These were the colony cities under the banner of the Linares colony overseers as they were advanced in technology and power. At this moment, on board a Lunary Enforcer warship, Achilles was using the advanced mobile device given by Major David back in the Silverstone estate as he opened an application labeled Avosky, and at the very top of the trending page were the alerts about staying away from the area around Titan Industries, as well as clips and pictures of the devastation posted by advanced humans who managed to be close. Among them were posts that asked unique questions. No regular, evolutionist beasts? Just where the Linares colony overseers hiding? Titan Industries' branch downfall. Who to blame? There were many articles and news pieces rising across the pages as gradually. Some were taken down as the masses of a few million in the colony city of Neon were abuzz with clamor and conversations. But for Achilles, it was just noise as, "Little fatty, they're saying we're here." Rose poked her head out as they received a signal, both of them rising to step out of a massive Lunarian Enforcer warship that hovered over an entrance with an armored fortress built around it. It was a surreal reality compared to just days ago. From normal human to now a Lunarian Enforcer being carried in a warship to a catacomb entrance. The wind whipped around their figures as they stood by the widening doors of the warship, seeing the fortress of defenses below as Achilles wrapped his hand around Rose's waist and smoothly floated down against the rough winds. She could use her flames to fly, but there was no harm in being a little closer with her, right? They landed on the tall walls of the fortress around catacomb entrance number 2, and Achilles looked over the turrets and other heavy weaponry that pointed towards the portal surrounded by walls. There were stairs leading towards the portal that held a dense purple-blue light, with a Meridian Transformation advanced human standing at the top as he saluted them like a soldier. "Sir, ma'am, you have been cleared for entry as we wish you the best." The process for the more dangerous catacomb entrances was even more straightforward as Achilles and Rose went straight down, his ecological empathy too, allowing him to see the terrifying layers of defenses that the Linares colony overseers had around this place. Just the number of Meridian Transformation advanced humans alone stood at 24, constantly standing guard here. He had yet to grasp the true depth of power of the Linares colony overseers as for now. He kept his focus for what was ahead. The brimming purple-blue glow ahead of him was reflected in his eyes, as after nodding towards Rose, they disappeared into it right away. Catacomb entrance number 2. He had read through the prevalent documents the priestess sent over to him on the way here, as this entrance into the catacombs led into the very depths, with the first evolutionist beasts one came across being peak Meridian Transformation ones. As for the beasts themselves, crazy. Rose had a smile of shock on her face as she saw one in the distance. The moment they entered, they were spat from a massive purple-blue portal in the air. Above the portal was a wide, open space that was covered by a dome that stretched out for miles, and below them were the blue waters of a massive lake. A lake stretching out for miles. It was nothing like the small, cave-like pathways of the previous catacombs, as this seemed like a small world on its own. And on the wide blue lake below, roar, the booming roar of an evolutionist beast boomed towards them, as it was a massive 10-meter marine turtle. Its outer shell pulsed with over a dozen meridians alone as its head poked out while shining with a dangerous blue light. Even though they were in the air, the peak Meridian Transformation marine turtle raised its head towards them and opened its jaws as a pillar of pressurized water surged from below to smash into them. At this point, Rose smiled dangerously as she clenched her hands, a wall of flames forming in front of them that caused the blast of water to turn into mist, while she formed her hands in a fists and punched down. BZZT. 2 fists punched down, and 2 verdant fists of flames manifested and surged towards the marine turtle down below. Boom! The impact was heavy as it caused rising mist due to the contact with water, but the roaring evolutionist beast down below. It let out a weak roar as when the mist cleared. It showed a marine turtle in bubbling hot water. Its shell cracked all over as its meat was almost well done. The verdant flames around it finished the job in seconds as a peak meridian transformation evolutionist beast perished. Achilles looked at it with expectations, as this was another possible assimilation, and he patted Rose, who turned towards him like a kid that had done well, and they made their descent. The lake, stretching out for miles, had cavernous walls all around it in the distance, as this area of the catacombs required advanced humans to delve below into deep waters. Many were not compatible with this, as they had to battle beasts underwater, with many being unable to survive in such an environment for long. Ethereal physiology masters had no issue with this, as their physiology could create a small area around them that isolated natural conditions. As for Achilles, he could simply push the water away and form a bubble around him, and Rose, as their mission in here, was to arrive at the depths of this lake. Down there, an ethereal behemoth guarded the passageway that led to an even more expensive area that few had gathered data about. The reason was the power the marine turtle ethereal behemoth displayed in the deep waters, and the increasing water pressures that pressed down all around were far too suffocating. And of course, lastly, the priestess stated that this beast carried traces of an ancient lineage, as their mission was to record the unfolding battle and obtain samples of its body and blood. They would have to wade through a deep lake, fight massive peak meridian transformation marine turtles on the way down, and then face a marine turtle ethereal behemoth down below. Easy enough. Achilles smiled with readiness, as he was excited to see what qualities a water-based evolutionist beast would bring. His feet touched the hot waters as a transparent vine shot from him and touched the cooked turtle as he voiced out. Assimilate. BZZT. A glow of purple-blue, and a massive body disappeared right after. Within him, another radiant source of power bloomed, and his body brimmed with excitement as it felt like he had unlocked another set of genes. His body, that he had begun to feel like it was a cup that was getting full with a maximum number of meridians soon nearing, now felt like the depths of this cup had expanded as he could add much more. His eyes flashed brightly as he looked at the new addition to the stat panel. See Reptilia Testudines Echelon 1. Obtain qualities of tidal wave generation I, oxygen independence I, aquatic adaptation I, and armored shell I. The blue waters felt that much clearer the moment that Achilles assimilated the marine turtle. In the waters below, they could already sense movements within its depths, as undoubtedly more peak meridian transformation marine turtles were coming up. I'm getting pumped up, little fatty. I just wish there wasn't all this water hiding them down below. Rose had verdant flames dancing around her as she seemed ready to let loose, and Achilles couldn't help but smile as he looked down at the body of water. I might be able to help with that. Give me a second. He sank down rapidly as his feet touched the clear blue waters, the Lunarian Enforcer armament alone releasing a small field that kept the water away as he sank his whole body in freely, without putting up any protections. And wondrously, he felt his body encased in water, but pristine. His hands touched the water as to him. It felt no different than moving and floating above. Oxygen independence, I, and aquatic adaptation, I displayed themselves fully as in the water. Achilles felt like he was home. He could move rapidly across it. And when he looked around, even if he didn't utilize ecological empathy too, he could already see the 8-peak meridian transformation marine turtles shooting from below and converging in this direction. And with ecological empathy too, he could feel everything even further below, as there was a terrifying aura of power down there that was slumbering. Achilles got serious after confirming the effects of assimilating the marine turtle, as after this, he had one more daring thing to assimilate. He looked at the waters around him and smiled as he called out in his mind calmly. Assimilate. Woo. At this point, he never had any more doubt. Since he had not been proven wrong even now, he should be able to assimilate everything as in the next moment. The calm waves of water surrounding him began converging around his body as he absorbed it rapidly. A new section was added to his already expanding panel as he saw its percentage shoot up rapidly, aided by the golden waves of primordial energy coursing within his body. Within a few seconds, it already attained the first echelon as he only commanded the assimilation to proceed at a faster pace. Up above, Rose had a face of marvel as she saw the water levels of the lake visibly begin to fall, and the process only became faster and faster. She couldn't help but shake her head at such a scene. "You're crazy, little fatty." She had known that her little fatty was going to be big the moment he told her what he could do. At this moment, she realized that even she didn't know just how big he was going to be. Down below, Achilles continued assimilating the water around him mercilessly, observing the changes within his body as he saw the pure blue waters enter his being and disappear into all parts of him, as if his cells were endlessly drinking it up. And alongside all of this, the golden waves of primordial energy made everything even easier as they reduced the pressure and unstable changes brought about due to the assimilation. So his existence corruption value did not change even as he crossed the first echelon of water and went towards the second echelon. Boom! His body felt that same explosive increase of complexity as he came to realize the number of meridians in his body now exceeded 190. 190! Just what will the actual limit be? He was slightly dazed at this, as he felt like every time he absorbed something new, he gained its qualities as his body gained another set of genes that made his previous limitations obsolete. He truly did not know how far it could go, as he already had double the number of meridians that Luna stated would grant one a rare peak physiology. He did not know the limits, so he would seek them. Come on! He bellowed out towards the waters around him, as well as the coming marine turtles down below, who had begun shooting beams of blue light. But he did not even evade them, as he still had the terrifying qualities of a freaking planet among many others. He had the planetary force field, too, that he fully believed may even be impenetrable against minor ethereal physiology masters. Peak meridian transformation marine turtles? That was absolutely nothing. Boom! The beams of heavy blue light they shot out smashed into an invisible barrier as they found nothing. And in response, purple-blue lightning began to dance around Achilles before thick tendrils shot out all around, the lightning being transmitted around. All the while, the waters of this lake became less and less as it looked like a huge basin was being cleared. And uniquely, it did not refill. As Achilles did this, he observed the rapidly rising percentage of the new assimilation. Inorganic water echelon 2, 2.35%. Obtained qualities of water embodiment 2, liquid manipulation 2, water breath 2, unnatural size 2, and endless regeneration 2. Bountiful new qualities came, and each one was more astonishing than the last, as Achilles felt like he could turn his whole body into a body of water. He felt like he could manipulate all the water around him to do what he wished, and his own body could release a terrifying breath of waves of heavy water that could topple anything. Not to mention another burst of his regeneration capabilities, as he was given endless regeneration too. He was more than satisfied with all of it as he roared out through every part of his body, commanding every single droplet of water nearby to flood into him. And it horrifically did just that. The massive blue lake that spread out for miles and had an unknown depth instantly swirled like a whirlpool and rapidly surged into the body of a small human. And in just seconds, roar! Shocked roars of marine turtles who suddenly found themselves in the skies rang out, their massive bodies tumbling down as some were already twitching from lightning. Towards the bottom of what used to be a lake, over 18 peak meridian transformation marine turtles tumbled onto a damp lake ground, and towards the very center of the bottom of the lake, the incandescent body of an utter monstrosity could be seen. A behemoth. A behemoth. It truly had to be called so, as it was as large as the Ionic Evolutus vein core they had seen in the Fort Cape of Hope, its body over 2 stories tall. Meridians coursed over its black and blue turtle shell as a dazzling, illusory blue star shone above it, and behind such a behemoth, at the bottom of the lake, there was a wide, transparent portal larger than its body that showed gorgeous waves of water on the other side. Boo! Achilles burped as his body brimmed with terrifying power, his eyes going towards the newest assimilation that had actually reached a high echelon. Inorganic water, echelon 4. Obtained qualities of water embodiment 4. Liquid manipulation 4. Water breath 4. Unnatural size 4. Endless regeneration 4. Whirlpool generation 4. And water immunity 4. Just like organic crystal at the 4th echelon, this was the second assimilation to also arrive here, as Achilles was able to absorb a truly large amount. He saw that with this rapid assimilation, though, even with primordial energy coursing across his body, his existence corruption value reached 21%, and his meridians ridiculously topped 220. Holy shit! Rose appeared beside him, verdant flames surrounding her legs, as she looked at the slumbering behemoth down below that began to move. Achilles appeared behind her and placed his hand on her back as he controlled the waves of power across his body. All right, no more water. Think you can burn all the little ones while I give you a power-up? He had been able to nurture Rose to this current stage even before he made tremendous advancements in organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body, organic crystal, and many of the new assimilations he held. At this point, he should be able to awaken every single possible meridian Rose's body could awaken, as right away, he activated biological nurturing 4. Rose had scorching green flames in her eyes as around her. Massive swirling fireballs began to form as she yelled out valiantly. Fill me up, little fatty. Wah! From Achilles' hand into Rose's body. A sea of purple radiance instantly burst and filled every part of Rose, her skin itself radiating a purple light as even her skeletal structure was illuminated, her bones painted purple. And an instant later, boom! Dozens of meridians instantly burst to life on her body, the number forcefully spilling past 50, 60, 80, and they only stopped forming when the 81st meridian was formed. She looked like an iridescent cluster of verdant veins shining brilliantly as the surging purple light nurturing her only paused for a second after allowing her 81st meridian to form, and right after. HUM. All her meridians vibrated and resonated. They were scattered all across her body, but they all became luminous and released lines of connections that instantly allowed all meridians on her body to be connected. Dumb. They pulsed akin to the beat of an ancient heart. Dumb. They released a blinding burst of verdant light as around Rose, a stellar light began to rise. From her back, Achilles felt scorching heat erupt as wondrously. He saw green flaming feathers unfurl behind her and extend outwards to form incandescent verdant stellar wings. Wings! In her head radiated waves of scorching heat as if she couldn't hold it in, her eyes gazing up as they shot out pillars of verdant flames while her mouth cried out with a resounding cry. K-E-A! The cry was heavy. The cry was piercing as down below. The marine turtles who heard it trembled as if they heard the bellow of a beast from ancient times. The massive behemoth that was slumbering fully snapped its eyes open as it roared up threateningly, feeling an oppressive, ancient air similar to itself in the skies above, but much purer. After her booming cry, the swirling verdant brilliance coursing over Rose's body gathered towards her head, eventually shooting up as above her head. A dazzling green, illusory star with outstretched wings formed. It looked like a circular stellar sun of blinding heat and radiance, and it had wings burning brilliantly behind it as intense waves of green light gathered around it, becoming more and more concentrated over time as the budding illusory star gained more and more substance with every passing second. As this occurred, Rose heaved up and down as she turned her head behind her and looked at Achilles with such an intoxicating expression that his eyes nearly saw red. It took every ounce of control from him to not lose control as she looked at him while panting and voiced out as her words sent waves of heat in his direction. "I seem to have awakened something called a Millennium Acheron Phoenix physiology." Woo! The incandescent stellar wings behind her. The regal bird-like cry she bellowed out. Achilles remembered the rare physiologies that Luna mentioned in ancient times, as it seemed Rose had inherited a genuine one that even told her of its identity when she got it. A little fatty, her eyes were currently incredibly dangerous as they were glazed over with a sort of flaming heat, and they caused Achilles' heart to beat just a little faster as Rose snapped her fingers. And from all around, her verdant flames gathered while even more bloomed, a royal cry of a phoenix ringing out again as above them. A terrifying amalgamation of stellar green flames that formed into the form of a magisterial flame phoenix with outstretched wings bloomed. Verdant flames converged to form eyes that gazed down coldly at the peak meridian transformation marine turtles and the minor ethereal physiology behemoth, its flaming beak opening wide as it began to release an utterly catastrophic breath of green flames down below. Achilles had the mind to quickly switch on the video feed Luna had attached to their suits to capture the scene down below, and he had to hurry to do this as the figure of Rose with dangerous heat in her eyes turned around and pounced on him, scorching heat spreading out all around her as she stole his lips for herself. Meanwhile, a powerful behemoth roared out as bursts of water and lightning erupted around it, a blue star shining dimly above its head as its cry carried a sense of fear when looking at the verdant stellar phoenix spitting out a storm of green flames that looked like lava gushing down at them. It was indescribable. This was the sensation that Rose had coursing across her whole body at this moment, where it felt like everything she knew was overturned. She knew that she was a human being. She knew this. But that perception was overturned today as something woke up from the depths of her being, from the very cells that made her. It all burned furiously as her very blood felt like it was burning stellar green, everything about her feeling hot as in her mind a few words buzzed. Ancient Millennium Acheron Phoenix. Such an identity buzzed within her again and again as it felt foreign, and at the same time, it was so deeply a part of her, as if it was meant to forever lay latent within a trillionth of a corner of her cells. And yet somehow, she had managed to awaken it. It was an impossibility, and it was not her doing. The one responsible for it all was none other than the man behind her, whom she turned to look at with a heated gaze. He was her world. She lived for him all those years ago when he was alone, and she returned from death in a hospital bed years later because of him. And now, he was giving her all of this as to him. It may be nothing, but for her, it was absolutely everything. Her gaze towards him became unfathomably fiery as she felt like she wanted to devour him whole right here and now. But part of her still kept her mental capacity as she controlled herself to just take hold of his lips so could quench even a little of the heat she felt. At the same time, she called upon the lineage, was it? The lineage of the ancient Millennium Acheron Phoenix that had awakened within her. She only heard the cry of a regal bird above her before she felt the heat it shot down below, and she knew that nothing below could survive the flames of the Millennium Acheron Phoenix, who she innately knew could burn ethereal physiology masters for dinner. But even with this level of power, she still wanted more. She knew that her little fatty was eating up everything he could because he wanted to protect her, but she also wanted to protect him. Seeing him hurt by Solomon before had terrified her, as she never wanted to feel that helpless again. So her heated emotions burned. Her newly awakened ancient lineage burned. The flaming phoenix above became even more real as its lava-like flames became utterly furious. And down below, it was hell. An ethereal behemoth has an illusory blue star spitting out waves of water to form tides around it, as these waves were layers with lightning. But its very lineage felt dread at what was above as the cry of a phoenix caused it to panic. The hellish green flames coming down were so scorching that the water it just conjured was already bubbling and evaporating, its massive body still seeking to release multiple whirlpools of water when the green lava-like flames crashed down. Boom! A heavy impact. And what followed? Roar! What followed were ear-piercing cries of pain from peak meridian transformation marine turtles that ceased after 1 second, with the only remaining roar being that of a behemoth whose body pulsed with connections of 50 meridian. Its physiology fighting against hellish flames that even scalded its shell. Deep within the physiology of the minor ethereal behemoth, a dull cry echoed out as around it, a radiant blue, illusory winged turtle manifested. It was a trace of its connection to an ancient lineage, as the aura of the ancient sea emperor turtle leaked from it, an illusory winged turtle blooming to fight at what threatened the life of the one holding its minute traces. But when this regal, illusory winged turtle carrying the majesty of the ancient sea emperor turtle looked around and saw the green flames as well as the flaming phoenix above, its eyes shrieked in shock and horror, as the impact of what it saw was so heavy that this illusory winged turtle dissipated, leaving behind a defenseless behemoth that roared out in despair as it tumbled and toiled in a sea of verdant flames. Its immense life force becoming a tool for torture, as it did not die quickly. But after a few seconds, there was silence. In the dried-up lake, there was only silence. On the Fort Cape of Hope floating in the skies of the colony city of Neon, inside the encampment research building that Achilles and Rose had been brought into before, inside a room filled with screens, Luna and Celine had their gazes filled with confusion and alarm as they watched the very brief appearance of an illusory ancient sea emperor turtle around the minor ethereal behemoth before it was drowned in lava-like green flames. Luna uttered with genuine shock as the recently turned-on video captured this, and the visage of a flaming green phoenix crying out something that, even from a distance, Luna felt a sense of reverence from. The visage of Rose barely flashed on their screens before the video feed was turned off again. That Luna had no words as her eyes flashed brilliantly, her hands going towards another computer as her lab coat fluttered while she tapped rapidly. Multiple files rose up as she spoke to herself. 81 meridians. She definitely had 81 meridians, and she somehow attained a rare, ethereal physiology even before the monstrous Achilles, as it should be one relating to one of the mythical birds of ancient times. Her eyes were bright as she said this, while Celine shook her head with disbelief and asked hesitantly, "These two are unlike any other transcendents I've seen or heard about so far. Are we positive in keeping them out of the Transcendent database so far?" The Transcendent database, a collection of information on all the transcendents across different colony cities under the banner of the Lenars Colony Overseers. A database that Achilles and Rose were kept out of so far as Luna nodded with confidence at Celine's words. "I'm not the only advanced human who received the inheritance of an ancient human from the catacombs that came with knowledge from the ancient times that gives us a chance to prepare for what is coming. The other colony cities should have their own, as at this moment, I cannot be too sure of their allegiances." Wah! Her face carried a chilling light as she read the documents she pulled up on the rare ancient physiologies relating to mythical birds. The ancient times were tumultuous. The capabilities of ancient ones are terrifying, with many moving with their own aims. Some who present as allies may actually be enemies, as if you include everything in the database, and it turns out enemies have access to it. We will not have any cards to play. This Achilles and Rose may just be the biggest cards we have, as we will continue to keep them away from the gazes of others. Remember, Celine, dealing with anything relating to ancient times means thinking of multiple possible scenarios and possibilities. Those who do not proceed carefully will perish. Her words were heavy as Celine nodded. "Among the two of them, which one is the most prized one?" she asked as she looked between Rose and Achilles in the still frames. "Is that even a question?" Luna did not even look back as she continued reading a certain document, her voice coming out calmly. One ate up an entire ionic evolutionist vein core and still did not awaken his physiology even now. The other seems to have been induced in his presence to attain her ethereal physiology when she was nowhere close at the time she left him. What changed between when they were here and there? The only constant remains him. Achilles Maxwell. Luna had a fevered gaze as her eyes arrived under the mention of phoenixes in her document. She knew the world was rapidly changing. She was trying to stay ahead of this change and make sure that entire colony cities did not get decimated in the process. Away from the Fort Cape of Hope, in another section of the colony city of Neon, through the catacomb entrance number 3 very few could go into. Only a number higher than the one that Achilles and Rose entered, and yet its danger still remained high. Only peak meridian transformation advanced humans entered here. Past its crimson portal and many winding cavernous paths of the catacombs, a unique scene could be seen inside at this moment. The figure of a naked humanoid woman stood around splatters of blood, her hair silver as it draped past her shoulders and even covered her smooth behind. Her eyes pulsed with a crimson light of enticement as her body had 81 dazzling meridians flashing gorgeously, multiple stars swirling above her head as she touched her sharp canines, while looking at the team of 7 peak meridian transformation advanced humans who looked like dried corpses at this moment. This body of the great Impuza has recovered barely 3% of my power. I need higher quality blood. You all tasted like absolute trash, even when I'm this hungry. Her visage was enticing as she looked at the bodies she had drained every drop of blood from. Her crimson eyes shone as she pointed out 7 times, 7 crimson gold drops of blood forming around her as they shot into the bodies of the peak meridian transformation advanced humans and caused the corpses to tremble many times over. Life returned to their dead gray skin, becoming even more vibrant than ever as they rose up while grasping for breath. Their throats felt dry. They held a deep sense of unsatiable hunger within them. Their eyes flashed with a hidden crimson light as they looked towards their master, who looked back at each of them with a smile. Come, my children, share your memories with me. What lies above? How much blood can I feast on? An enamored peak meridian transformation advanced humans walked towards the great Impuza, offering her neck with reverence as Impuza bit into it again, but she did not drink the vampiric blood at this moment. She drank the memories running across this body as she moaned. Neon, colony cities, technology. She learned of all the new things that had bloomed since her slumber, and she couldn't help but smile. A population of a few million in such a small space. She couldn't help but lick her lips. There were countless blood bags above, and they were all just waiting for her. This'll be fun. Come, my children, we have a city full of blood bags to stand tall over. A terrifying enemy rose from the depths of the catacombs and made its way above. Around the same time, past the massive bronze catacomb entrance number 1 that was surrounded by a massive armored fortress. 2 minor ethereal physiology masters from the Golden Trading Company were fighting against a massive giant worm behemoth that was in its last death throes, its massive bronze body falling down around a destroyed forest in an expansive cavernous space. The ethereal physiology masters, a man and a woman adorned in golden, evolutionous armaments, breathed a sigh of relief as the woman with dark hair looked towards the middle-aged man and smiled. With this, another behemoth falls to us, Niara and Neiman. Neiman. She had been speaking casually, but she saw a flash of light surge from behind the fallen worm behemoth that was far too quick, this light smashing and sinking into the body of the minor ethereal physiology master as his physiology buzzed while he roared out. The fuck was that? He looked around in shock for the attacker, but found absolutely nothing as in the next moment. Gah! He clutched his body as something was moving within. Neiman, the other ethereal physiology master, screamed out in shock, her hand shooting out a golden beam of a healing light on him that did absolutely nothing. Neiman clutched his body that felt immense pain, ripping off his armament and looking at his body that showed. A long, multicolored worm-like thing pulsing inside of his meridians. It spread throughout his meridians as if it were making them its home, with Neiman slowly losing control of his upper limbs as the worm covered his hands and chest already. It went towards his brain at this moment as in sheer horror and fear, he roared out while pushing his sister away. Run up! He was rapidly losing feeling and control as he thought he was pushing his sister away, but he had actually held her down as if his hands were metal clamps. "Neiman?" she asked with absolute terror in her eyes, as in the next moment, she saw the mouth of her brother opening wide. A multicolored grotesque worm-like thing coming out of it as his hands pried her mouth open, and this worm shot in her mouth and surged directly into the meridians in her brain. An immense silence reigned thereafter as the bodies of two ethereal physiology masters became still, their meridians becoming occupied by pulsing multicolored worms as above their heads. Their single illusory stars soon began to increase in number. At the same time, a chant could be heard as, from behind the dead worm behemoth, other small multicolored worms wriggled out. Leucochloridium, leucochloridium, leucochloridium. Multiple ancient lineages woke around the same time. Within catacomb entrance number 3, a terrifying Impusa seeking blood wanted to emerge. In catacomb entrance number 1, which was normally filled with minor ethereal behemoths, another terrifying lineage of the leucochloridium also bloomed. In catacomb entrance number 2, a woman who had awoken the ancient Millennium Acheron Phoenix lineage released the lips of a man who physically had to hold himself back to not pounce on her. Her body was surrounded by mesmerizing green flames as somehow her already gorgeous appearance, which Achilles was entirely confident no other woman in this world could compare to, became all that much more enticing. He breathed in deeply as he pulled on the strength of the organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body just to keep himself steady. He pulled on the strength of a planetary body just to control himself around this woman before him who smiled enticingly as she looked down at an apocalyptic horror below. "Thank for the meal, little fatty." She looked down as her trembling eyes betrayed her own need to regain control, and she could at least keep her mind busy for what was down below. Achilles did the same as he nodded while coming to float beside her, looking at the scorched marine turtles down below that he sent transparent tendrils of vines to quickly devour, and as for the massive cooked behemoth that held a trace of primordial energy within it, well, they said they just needed a sample alongside the video feed to complete the mission. He looked at the decimation Rose left behind as he patted her head, his vines going down to collect everything as he also looked at the massive barrier pathway that showed an even more expansive area past this place. Their mission was effectively done, but they could do a little exploration, right? He controlled the surrounding gravity as he and Rose went down, his mind paying attention to his body and how waves of primordial energy and evolutionist energy cycled through him to further reduce the existence corruption value. By the time they landed at the bottom of the dried lake, the bodies of scorched marine turtles at peak meridian transformation were all assimilated into him, while the massive ethereal behemoth was cut off smoothly as 90% of its body had disappeared. He ate up 90%, and he would bring back the 10% for the completion of the mission. Both his assimilations of primordial energy source and C. reptilia testudinis rose crazily as a result of this, especially because this was the first ethereal life form he had assimilated. His panel was currently grandiose as he looked at it while standing in front of the massive portal that would lead to an even more dangerous area. Achilles Maxwell, assimilation, organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body, echelon 2. Organic crystal, evolutionist crystal, echelon 4. Primordial energy source, echelon 2, 36%. Organic phanergam, life form, echelon 3. Inorganic water, echelon 4. Non-luminous moon, light, echelon 1. Sunlight, echelon 1. Organic arachnida, life form, echelon 1. C. reptilia testudinis, echelon 3. Obtain qualities of tidal wave generation 3, oxygen independence 3, aquatic adaptation 3, armored shell 3, decelerated aging 3, and unnatural endurance 3. Existence corruption value, 20%. Complexity, extremely weak terrestrial life form. He was becoming more and more complex with the number of things he assimilated as at this moment, There were two factors he was looking at in terms of assimilations. How readily available was the quantity of things he wanted to assimilate, and how fast was the rate of existence corruption value rising due to it. These two factors made the most important thing to assimilate be the organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body that came in first place, due to the fact that the world itself seemed endless in the terrifying power it brought him. At Echelon 2, the planetary body assimilation granted much more than even inorganic water at Echelon 4. Inorganic water. This actually took the second spot just at this moment due to their current environment. It was easier to bring up, and right before them, there was another body of water they couldn't see the ends of. So long as he could keep the existence corruption value under control, nothing prevented him from proceeding ahead in assimilating both things right now. After all, he never had to wait until fighting a really strong enemy to assimilate the things that made him ridiculously more powerful. So, give me a second, Rose. He held Rose back as he carefully sent a tendril of a transparent vine through the massive blue portal-like barrier that held serene waves of water on the other side. When nothing happened, he nodded as he sat right beside the barrier, one hand was pushing across it and feeling the heavy pressure of water that made him feel at home. He then took out the gold Evolution storage box that Luna had given to Rose, which contained 10 years' worth of salary of a Lunarian enforcer that she had already given to him without another thought. With those tens of thousands of Evolution crystals to provide Evolution energy and elevate this assimilation, paired with primordial energy, would he be able to assimilate as much as he could while keeping existence corruption down? There was only one way to find out. Boo! He breathed out and became determined, as he knew he was pushing himself to do this, because he didn't know just how crazy the world was about to become with these ancient ones. If he had the tools to be even crazier, then he had to be. Because if the day ever came when he was too weak, because he didn't assimilate everything he could while he had the chance, and he lost everything, he would have nobody to blame but himself. So while feeling a sense of urgency, his hand, crossing the barrier and touching foreign waters, was given a command. Assimilate. But it wasn't the only thing. The land he currently sat on, the organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body. He also gave a command to it simultaneously. Assimilate. Wah. And lastly, his right hand held the Evolution storage box that held tens of thousands of Meridian Transformation Evolution crystals, beginning to absorb these as well to make sure his existence corruption value stayed low. A triple assimilation. It was all about balance, as both the organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body and the inorganic water were heavy things, his body rapidly advancing, if even one was being assimilated. Especially the terrestrial planetary body, where even a little bit of assimilation at its Echelon 2 advanced tremendously slowly in its percentage, but the growth it gave him was more than twice the equivalent of the growth he was getting from inorganic water and organic crystals at their Echelon 4, while they advanced. His body continued to pulse as meridians formed freely. The number crossed 240 and slowly continued to rise, a new one awakening every second as he monitored existence corruption with rapt attention. Around him, the ground trembled. Across the barrier, the body of water seethed as a lot of it surged into and disappeared into his hand. The feeling of unfathomably becoming stronger and stronger continued, as while also assimilating the Evolution crystals, his existence corruption value was bouncing around 20% initially. After a minute, it began to edge towards 30% and stayed there, bouncing up and down again. All the meanwhile, his small body felt like a heavy behemoth as the power it carried reached unimaginable levels. Achilles himself did not know how to accurately gauge this, but there was someone who could. Near him, Rose shook her head as she felt like she was seeing something even more ancient than the Millennium Acheron Phoenix lineage that she had awakened. With this unique physiology she had taken, she was able to look down below at the ethereal behemoth and know that her flames could easily burn it. But when she looked at Achilles with her Millennium Acheron Phoenix physiology, she actually felt a weak phoenix cry of oppression as it felt scared. It was a unique sensation as it showed just how terrifying her little fatty was becoming. She only felt happiness in her heart as she looked around to make sure that nothing bothered her little fatty. There was nothing in this dried lake, so her eyes naturally went to the other side of the barrier where there was a vibrant and seemingly endless body of water. She looked into it as with her new physiology. Her eyes were able to see even a few miles away, as she felt like the vision of an ancient bird overlapped with hers. And she looked around the waters to see endless swathes of blue. And, she blinked. Green flames burned in her eyes as they felt like from an extremely far distance. Another set of eyes opened at this moment to link with hers. And she felt an inexplicable sense of alarm as she focused on that area even more. And from it, waves began to seethe and surge as, shockingly, the sound was carried across the waters and boomed around them like an ancient drum. What is loosening the ionic chains so much to wake up Ibishi so early? Hum. The voice was thick. The voice was booming. It instantly roused Achilles to open his eyes sternly as ecological empathy too stretched out. The source of the voice was too far away. But from the voice itself and the energy it carried, he sensed a deep accumulation of primordial energy raging in the distance. But the content of the voice was mysterious and potentially dangerous. Even ecological empathy, too, told him the voice stemmed from an extremely powerful behemoth many times more powerful than the minor, ethereal marine turtle. But nothing moved after the voice as Achilles had a stern expression while he turned on his video feed and spoke into his Lunarian Enforcer armament. Across the barrier that the minor ethereal behemoth was guarding, we just heard a deep voice mention loosening ionic chains, a voice calling itself Bishi. What is the assessment here? He checked to see if the Lenar's colony overseers already knew and documented of the behemoth past this point, as he asked Luna. The equipment they were given was much more advanced than many things as apart from a video feed. They could also send communications back and forth. Achilles just wanted to confirm as he sent that message towards the Fort Cape of Hope, but what came out on the other side to ring out beside him and rose. Run, run. Bishi is a legend of a child of the sea dragon emperor of the ancient times. Run. Hum. Luna's voice was frantic, filled with shock and horror. From a distance, waves of the sea began to seethe as in truly distant waters past the barrier. The voice echoed out again. Oh, someone who knows me has already woken up? Little Green Phoenix, is it you? The voice was booming as if it could hear and see everything even from this far distance. Achilles had already risen up and grabbed Rose, who was frozen in alarm, their bodies instantly turning into something even faster than a missile as he pulled upon gravity to push them out into the distant portal. Behind them, the blue barrier began to crack as if a heavy force was wrapping around it, a voice tinged with surprise booming out as its content was obscured by the churning waves of the sea. But undoubtedly, something horrific was coming as in the next moment, the blue barrier shattered as endless waves of water began to spill in. Above, Achilles and Rose reappeared in the armored fortress as already blaring alarms had begun to resound, their figures being analyzed by the heavy weapons and turrets all around before they stood down. The Meridian Transformation advanced humans here had shocked expressions as they had just received a command from above for the highest possible emergency, and they were told to hold on as long as possible while reinforcements arrived. This was on Catacomb Entrance Number 2. Achilles had a stern expression as he floated even higher above with Rose, thinking about the words he heard. Loosening ionic chains. These words danced in his mind as while this happened on Catacomb Entrance Number 2 in the armored fortress of Catacomb Entrance #3. On. Impuza licked her lips as she threw aside a dried-up peak Meridian Transformation advanced human, her red eyes gazing at everything as they showed blood and gore everywhere, her vampiric minions wading through this fortress and bringing her more blood bags to enjoy as her return truly began with a bang. And from Catacomb Entrance Number 1, 2 ethereal physiology masters known and recognized by the monitors came out. not raising any alarms as the Major, who was keeping tabs on what went in and out, blinked for a moment as he saw the meridians of the two ethereal physiology master siblings seem to be pulsing with multicolored light, with their meridians undulating in a worm-like motion as he did not understand. It was only a moment later he became alarmed as he saw that above their heads, there were now 9 dazzling, illusory multicolored stars spinning instead of the one star that these ethereal physiology masters should have. It was a shocking scene. From 1 star to 9 stars for both in such a short span of time. Such a thought only flashed in the Major's mind once before in the next moment. His chair fell behind him as both the ethereal physiology masters disappeared the moment they came out, with the cameras capturing them on the walls of the fortress where they appeared in front of the Meridian Transformation advanced humans standing guard. They grabbed the guards by the neck before their own mouths split open, horrific multicolored worms surging out as they entered the mouths of the struggling Meridian Transformation advanced humans whose bodies trembled for a few seconds before they became still, and they then became calm, and their meridians began to glow even brighter, their eyes turning callous as they instantly moved towards other guards around the fortress. What the fuck? What the fuck? The Major nearly screamed out in horror as he pushed the button for the highest possible alarm. Away from all of these 3 locations, above the colony city of Neon, in the Fort Cape of Hope, sitting in front of multiple screens showing the scenes of catacomb entrances number 1, number 2, and number 3, Luna's face was ashen. Her mind was buzzing as it felt like nothing could even faze it, and it was frozen until... Priestess! Priestess! Luna! The cries from Celine shook her out of her reverie as she instantly came to and breathed heavily, looking at the many screens around her as she stuttered out her words. Deploy all currently functional Andromeda Sentinels to catacomb entrances number 1 through number 3. Her expression was frantic as she pressed on multiple keys, the lights around the room turning blinking orange as all higher-ups of the Linares colony overseers were alerted. Connect me through to the other Lunarian Enforcer overseers. Let the transcendents within the colony city know. Danger level, colony destroyer. Wah. Her eyes were heavy. What was this? Why did this happen right now? She looked at the screens showing 3 catacomb entrances, especially those showing blood flowing freely as she affirmed a theory of something horrible she had in her knowledge, something called an impusa, and the multicolored worms. She didn't even have to wonder what they were, as their chants were already ringing out across the screens. Leucochloridium, 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 leucochloridium. Ancient parasitic worms, more terrifying than many other things. And these were just from 2 entrances. From another entrance was Bishi. Her face was ashen as she directly called for the danger level, colony destroyer. She was raising an alarm that something that could potentially lay waste to the colony city had risen. There were many different danger levels that an overseer could ring out, with higher level ones requiring approval from other overseers too. As soon, multiple screens in this room began to light up and show faces of other powerful ethereal physiology masters. Some men, some women, but their faces were stern. Danger levels went as follows. Local fracture. This was for ley line fractures where droves of evolutionist beasts who could cause great damage were discovered, and such a danger level was handled at a small, local level. Apart from ley line fracture, even the incursion against Titan Industries was labeled a local fracture. Past it was colony destroyer, a threat that could possibly threaten the livelihood of the whole colony and a potential mass casualty of hundreds of thousands. Past this was something nobody wanted to experience. Danger level, overseer's ruin. Past that, the danger level given a single word, eldritch. Local fracture, colony destroyer, overseer's ruin, and eldritch. On this day, Lunarian Enforcer Overseer Luna sounded the alarm for the danger level of colony destroyer for the colony city of Neon. 8 screens showing 8 other overseers appeared in front of her, terrifyingly powerful ethereal masters, shown on there as a man with golden hair and pupils that were plus signs, spoke out grandly. We have seen the video feeds of the catacomb entrances. It will be a calamity, But is it enough to be labeled a colony destroyer? We will have to clear out all advanced humans below Meridian Transformation and all other humans into the colony bunkers. We will have to pull back all strongest forces dash. He was speaking his concerns as Luna had to interrupt with 3 words. Impusa, Bishi, Leucochloridium. Wah. The words buzzed across the feeds as many faces of the overseers changed. If you have gone through the database of information I provided years ago, all 3 of these are names of ancient ones. These 3 may be just weakened bodies of theirs that have not recovered all their power, but their power alone should be hard for even major ethereal physiology masters to handle. And the Leucochloridium are an ancient species with a high rate of infection that can spread across the colony city and infect millions in an hour if they aren't contained. If they're disastrous enough, this whole colony city will be overrun, as this becomes a problem for all colony cities under Linares. She nearly screamed at the end as right away, multiple screens turned green. To declare a danger level, the majority of the overseers had to agree. At this moment, all 9 agreed as an orange warning light settled all around. Horns began to blare across the colony city of Neon. It was the sound of a horn that many would remember for all their lives, for those who survived anyway. The Lunarian enforcer overseer with golden plus signs in his pupils rose as he uttered out, I will head to the most dangerous leucochloridiums. Dr. Shaw, we can count on your sentinels to provide cover. He spoke towards a transcendent human who sat on the board of overseers as on another screen. A figure nodded briskly. I will also deploy a new prototype today, but all my sentinels will be out and operational. Good. The most dangerous leucochloridiums cannot be allowed to have their infection spread. Release the detained forces of the Titan Industries to help in the war effort too. Things move quickly. The screens constantly changed, and in a matter of seconds, major decisions were made to combat the terrifying changes occurring in 3 different catacomb entrances. At this time, another voice among the colony overseers rang out amidst the chaos. On catacomb entrance #2, do I see 2 enforcers already there? Can we count on them to cover until the other 2 entrances are secured? The voice magnified a certain screen that showed 2 enforcers floating in the air. It was Achilles and Rose. 2 enforcers in the air. The eyes of Luna fluttered as the secret enforcers she was seeking to keep a low profile on were brought to the center screens, and she kept her expression placid as she looked at the swirling green meridians around Rose that, in a matter of seconds, the other overseers still watching their screens also noticed. Are those 81 meridians? We have a new transcendent on the field. The man bearing golden crosses in his eyes spoke out as he could be seen entering a warship, multiple ethereal physiology masters moving alongside him as he looked at the figure of Rose closely. Beside her, Achilles, who had everything veiled, paled in comparison as Luna replied in a neutral tone. Yes, they should be able to hold on for a bit, but they are new on the field, and they are a budding talent we cannot lose. I will head down to reinforce them myself. She motioned to Celine, who had already called for their forces to gather as they moved out. The lab coat on Luna was taken off as an exquisite figure was shown underneath, a silver brilliance of the moon covering her visage and distorting her body as from the very light of the moon itself. A silver armament began to form around her. In the skies of the catacomb entrance #2, Achilles had a stern expression as he saw water gushing out of the catacomb entrance down below, the whole armored fortress already half filled with rising water levels as the water seemed to be expanding out in a circular, contained fashion, as if there was a circular barrier opening in this space that contained the water spilling out. The sound of blaring horns resounded out in this region of the colony city of Neon as Achilles and Rose also turned their heads to other directions of the colony city that seemed to also have their own emergencies. At this time, can you hear me? If the enemy is Bishi, gauge its power and hold off for as long as you can for reinforcements to arrive. If it seems capable of overpowering you, save your lives first more than anything else. From their evolutionist armaments, the voice of Luna rang out as Achilles breathed out calmly while looking above. Rays of sunlight cascaded down as solar empowerment. I caused his body to brim with power, not to mention his advancements with the organic and inorganic terrestrial planetary body on the second echelon that now reached 22%, and the inorganic water and organic crystal that had advanced 20% each on the fourth echelon. All of it allowed the dazzling number of 360 meridians to burn brightly within his body, as after this number was reached, no more meridians awakened. 360. After this, he simply felt his body undulating with waves of power, as if it was resonating everything inside of him, everything he had assimilated. And by the time it reached a certain point, he knew it would all explode to form into an unfathomable physiology. So the current level of power he held was one that he was very confident in, as even when he gauged himself against the avatar of the ancient satyr, Jolbakken, who was apparently of the major ethereal physiology, he did not think that creature could hurt him. And now, there was another creature linked with ancient ones who also likely had primordial energy within their body. Ever since he did not get the chance to assimilate Jolbakken, he was itching to assimilate a fully genuine ancient one. So, stay with me, Rose. He kept Rose close as the catacomb entrance below them exploded, Meridian Transformation Linares Majors already abandoning the now underwater fortress and moving to secure the periphery as from the cracking entrance. Roar! A booming roar split apart the waves of waters and skies as it reverberated outwards for miles. The head of a dragon broke free into the bounds of the futuristic city of Neon. A dragon. Wah! Blue-gold waves of power surged out into the surroundings as potent primordial energy exploded outwards, causing Achilles' eyes to shine brightly, as this was what he wanted the most. Alongside the rising dragon head, a long, slender, scaled neck extended out before the catacomb entrance shattered even further, a wide blue-gold turtle shell rising out as an aurora of blue wings stretched out on this shell. By the time the whole body of the behemoth was out, it looked like a four-story building rising from surging blue waters. The head of a dragon and the body of a winged turtle. It emanated a profound sense of glory as the eyes of this creature shone with power and intelligence. This being no avatar or manifestation, as this was a genuine body of an ancient one woken from its slumber appearing before them. I be she, the ninth son of the Dragon King, have awoken from my long slumber. Wah! Its eyes shone with tremendous power and malice as it looked around and gazed at the few dozen Meridian Transformation advanced humans nearby, a chilling smile forming on its dignified draconic head as its voice echoed out. Honor me. Dumb. Kneel before me. Dumb. A heavy beat of a heart resounded as any Meridian Transformation advanced humans nearby spat blood, their knees forced to the ground in a show of horror, as the blue-gold eyes of Bishi only shone with greater splendor, and they turned up to the skies to lock onto Achilles and Rose as they spoke two more words, beams of blue-gold light bursting from its eyes as it sought to snatch their figures from the skies they were looking down at it from. Fear. Me. The regal voice of the ninth son of the Dragon King reverberated out. Two beams of blue-gold light surging towards Achilles and Rose as they smashed onto a transparent green planetary force field and were split to shoot out towards the distant barrier of the colony city of Neon in the skies. And Achilles stared down at one of the 9 sons of the Dragon King as he spoke out grandly. No, a terrifying and regal evolutionist beast, an ethereal physiology behemoth that had 9 dazzling illusory stars above its draconic head, had given out a command to honor it, to fear it, to kneel before it. The Meridian Transformation advanced humans nearby felt their bodies pressed down by an undeniable power as they were forced to kneel down. But 2 figures remained in the skies as the young man above said no. It was an ecstatic scene. Across the colony city of Neon, warning lights were blaring as a monotonous voice rang out all around. For your safety, please proceed to the nearest colony bunker. Danger level, colony destroyer. For your safety, please proceed to the nearest colony bunker. Danger level, colony destroyer. These words repeated again and again as body modification advanced humans and normal humans rushed towards massive metallobunkers that rose from the earth in specific locations around the colony city of Neon. At the same time, on the massive screens and billboards on the side of buildings, video feeds displaying the catastrophes unfolding from catacomb entrances number 1, number 2, and number 3 were displayed as many people turned ashen at the scenes. Catacomb entrance number 1 had terrifying worm-like creatures taking over the bodies of Meridian Transformation advanced humans, their meridians pulsing heavily thereafter as dazzling stars exploded above their heads moments later, their power exploding up as they became ethereal physiology masters. Catacomb entrance number 3 was a bloody scene as a silver-haired woman with crimson eyes had bloody wings expanding behind her, rising from a fortress as a river of blood followed behind her, with dozens of vampiric creatures that begun to surge out towards the densely populated city. And Catacomb entrance number 2 had something that caused the eyes of many normal humans to grow weak as on the massive screens. The image of a draconic turtle was shown. Bishi, the 9th son of the Dragon King. Even body modification advanced humans looked at this and felt terror as when its heavy voice was captured in the video feed. The minds of many buzzed as pandemonium and panic ensued. For your safety, please proceed to the nearest colony bunker. Danger level, colony destroyer. The urgent warnings rang out again as many barely had the energy to move their bodies. But this was when the video feed panned to figures floating in the skies, one of them looking down with resolute eyes as his voice thundered out. No. A simple word, but it denied the authority of the son of the Dragon King as finally, those watching the screens felt a foreign influence leave them, their hearts still scared as they yelled out with fervor at this moment. Even against these terrifying evolutionist beasts, there was always still their advanced humans to stand against them. Who was this master that sought to protect them now? Was he well known? Achilles' image was captured as it soothed the hearts of many, and beside him, oh, my God! Many gasped in shock when the image of the ethereal physiology rose was shown to all. Hundreds of thousands of men froze in a stupor, and even more women were starstruck. For your safety, please proceed to the nearest colony bunker. Danger level, colony destroyer. The blaring horns and robotic voice woke many up as they continued surging like tides towards bunkers, which would have massive screens just like the ones they watch from the sides of billboards and buildings right now. Even under the threat of a danger level of colony destroyer, the people of the colony city of Neon would be kept up to date on whether the calamity would be swept away with their lives secured, or they would watch in real time as their most powerful advanced humans fell one after another, and they would know that they were next. Among the body modification, advanced humans following the waves of others into colony bunkers. There was a woman who looked towards Achilles in a daze as she barely recognized him. But since he had passed by her in a low-level catacomb entrance not too long ago, she definitely confirmed it was him. That she couldn't believe the friend she used to know in school. The one she and her other group of friends had lost touch with as they became advanced humans, and he did not. How was he floating in the skies, facing a terrifying behemoth at this moment? She looked on in a stupor, as she did not have an answer. Above her, a massive Lunarian enforcer warship hummed, and past this location is on it. The figure of Luna, surrounded by 3 Andromeda Sentinels, could be seen looking at the screen that showed Bishi in the domain of water, gazing up coldly towards Achilles and Rose. Behind her, Selene and 3 ethereal physiology masters could be seen getting ready as even their gazes were stern as they looked at what they were going to face. The 9 illusory stars above the draconic turtle confirmed that it was a major ethereal physiology behemoth, but its power was likely unlike any major ethereal physiology master, as due to its lineage, it should approach apex ethereal physiology. But its stars remained illusory. There were 9, and none of them were solidified. This meant that they still had a chance. Behind Luna, Selene and the 3 other ethereal physiology masters opened vials containing silver-gold liquids and consumed them entirely, their bodies radiating a silver radiance similar to Luna as the illusory stars above their heads became even more radiant. The mission is simple. The voice of Luna echoed out with power and firmness as on her head. 9 illusory stars seemed ready to solidify, as each one looked like a resplendent moon. Stop Bishi, and likely any minions that will follow it through, and ensure the lives of Achilles and Rose. The Transcendents, showing great promise, could not be allowed to die. In the coming days and months, progressively stronger and more obscene Ancient Ones would continue to awaken as the landscape of the colony city of Neon would undergo a tremendous change, and the larger world of Athemia even more so, as Ancient Ones were spread throughout it, not just clustered under the catacombs under the colony city of Neon. Transcendence would be one of the few weapons to stand against such horrific evolutionous beasts. After all, to face monsters, one need even stronger monsters. Monsters could only be faced by other monsters. Luna truly believed this, as she knew in the ancient times there was an overabundance of primordial energy that created utterly terrifying beings. In this age, there was the exuberant evolutionous energy, an energy of change and adaptability, as it was unknown just how weak or strong those born from it would be. Please, please. The priestess closed her eyes and gave a silent prayer. She thought of those she lost in the catacombs to gain the inheritance of the moon. She thought of the faces of her brothers as they looked towards her with smiles, even as their bodies broke down. And she opened her eyes right after as they carried a decisive light, their warship approaching the skies of the catacomb entrance number 2. A draconic turtle looked towards the figures of Achilles and Rose as its magnetic voice, filled with dignity, echoed out. Wow, no. What creature are you to actually dare to say no to the grandeur of Ibishi? More than that, do you speak on behalf of this phoenix? Are you its concubine? You shall be so no longer. Since I have woken up in this era, I need many concubines like before. Both you and that phoenix can join. It spoke words that caused the faces of both Achilles and Rose to change, with blistering flames erupting around Rose as her single-winged green star shone with an ethereal luster. You dumb turtle, you want to make him your concubine. He is taken. Woo! Flames seethed around her. Her eyes burned with increasing anger at the mere thought of a turtle stealing the lips of her little fatty, her pupils turning entirely aflame as she pulled something out from the depths of her awakened physiology. Its words just flashed in her mind as she called out, Acheron Phoenix's talons of rage. The star above her shone a resplendent green that illuminated nearby skies for miles. And a second later, the skies below her and Achilles distorted and burned as 3 massive flaming verdant talons of a phoenix bloomed, their ends sharp and piercing as they released a droning sound while rapidly flying down. The son of the Dragon King, Bishi, saw this as its eyes shone with excitement instead of fear. No fucking way. An Acheron Phoenix? You actually have a trace of one of the legendary avians? And you are still this weak. Boom. Around Bishi. Tremendous waves of primordial energy erupted out as an incandescent blue-gold shell that looked like layers of ancient shields first appeared all around Bishi, and thereafter, its draconic jaws opened as its voice thundered out while it released something grand. My defenses are grander than even a true dragon's. My jaws can bite through mythical steel, and my breath, do you truly think it cannot rival the flames of a bird? H.U.M. Its jaws opened wide as from them. Spinning storms of blue-gold flames surged. It looked like the emergence of a hurricane of flames that surged up like a terrifying, swirling pillar of judgment. A hurricane breath of blue-gold flames. 3 incandescent, verdant, flaming talons of a phoenix. They met just above Bishi as a terrifying explosion thundered out. Primordial and evolutionous energy mixed and churned before the skies were blasted apart by the terrifying force. The shield-like shell of Bishi merely vibrating as when the scene cleared. His blue-gold serpentine eyes were looking towards Rose with even greater fascination. With the force of my 9 ethereal Dragostars, you're actually able to disperse my breath while only holding a single Acheron Phoenix star? Are you a pure-blooded phoenix? Come, let me see. Hum. The massive body of the Bishi began to rise from its watery domain as its wings flapped. Behind it, the crack of the catacomb entrance entirely broke as waters flooded out, massive, ethereal behemoth marine turtles beginning to come out one after another. Meanwhile, Bishi took to the skies. It was at this time that Achilles' figure began to buzz with wonder as without a word, he shot down towards Bishi. It wanted to see. He would make sure it could no longer see. Solar empowerment, I burned around him silently. His body held 360 meridians, while the maximum for entities, even in ancient times, was supposedly 81. His body held the qualities of a planetary body, among many other things. So at this moment, while solar empowerment, I caused his very cells to burn with activity. While his 360 meridians pulsed and coursed with rivers of solar energy, lunar energy, primordial energy, evolutionist energy, and much more. His figure thundered down like a spear. He went with his feet down as if he were stomping down on the ascending dragon turtle. As he did so, his body became unfathomably heavy as his descent was supported by gravitational field manipulation too. His evolutionist core, that seemed like a cluster of a small planet within him, added its weight. His peak foundation physiology too, and primal energy control too, caused his body to become compact and not leak out anything. His unnatural endurance 4 and liquid manipulation 4 made his very blood heavier than the densest metal. Every single one of his qualities contributed to allow for his body to reach a peak state of power he had never attained before. And he thundered down in a freefall with an utterly chilly gaze towards the Bishi. Why did the enemies they faced inadvertently always wanted to get their hands on his rose? The moment they did this, they signed their death warrant, as this Bishi was marked for assimilation through and through. His expression became heavy as he bellowed out while he shot down like a star, space distorting where he passed. Just, hey, water, turtle. For words boomed out. For words heard by the ascending figure of Bishi as his eyes began to be enveloped red as he roared out. Preposterous? Suyai. Achilles' speed suddenly became even faster under the effect of gravitational field manipulation too, his terrifying body instantly arriving above the head of Bishi as his unfathomably heavy force and pressure was finally felt by this draconic turtle. Its blue-gold shields of shells around it shattered like paper. Its eyes that were just about to become enraged, becoming shocked, as its head felt as if a massive mountain was pressing down, and it would for sure turn everything to mush. AWO! A cry of shock and disbelief erupted from the very depths of Bishi, a storm of primordial energy burning blue and gold erupting around it, while its draconic head instantly sought to retract into the turtle shell. But the terrifying descent of Achilles continued as around him. A transparent green planetary force field too shimmered as it crushed everything it came across, his body akin to an unavoidable spear as across the skies. The crunching of shattering turtle shell echoed out. The scene was observed by many on the screens, showing the situations in different catacomb entrances. Everything shown across the catacomb entrances were ultimately accumulations of choices. On the catacomb entrance number 3, a Lunarian Enforcer warship had arrived as the descent of multiple Andromeda Sentinels and ethereal physiology masters could be seen, their eyes livid as they looked at the scenes of blood down below. On the catacomb entrance number 1, there was an eerie fog spreading out and covering everything as a man with golden crosses on his pupils stood on the widened doors of a Lunarian Enforcer warship. Over 12 Andromeda Sentinels converging at this location as they created a perimeter to ensure none of the Leucochloridium worms spread out. All of these were directions and sets of choices. Above catacomb entrance number 2, Achilles also made a choice as against a waking Ancient One. He turned his body into a terrifying missile as this choice was made for all to see. Others observe it on screens, while Luna, the Lunarian Enforcer warship she was on, arrived in the distance as she, Selene, and others witnessed it firsthand. They saw as the impenetrable blue-gold turtle shield was broken apart like glass, and the scene of a terrifying dragon turtle retracting its head to hide in its shell in horror as the figure of a single human was undaunted, his figure shooting down like an arrow as the hard shell of the ninth son of the Dragon King shattered like glass as well. Boom, crack! A horrific crunching sound rang out along with an eruption of blue-gold blood that seemed to surge towards the body of Achilles in real time and disappear into him. A maddened, pained roar of a dragon turtle could then be heard as, by sheer power or luck, the magnificent figure of Bishi had its shell entirely split in half, muscle and blood spurting out while its retracted head held a huge gash that barely escaped complete annihilation. Primordial energy spasmed around it as its bloodied eyes held great shock while its body exploded to move away from Achilles. Luna and others looked at this in shock as, that was a legendary Bishi, right? It should be an ethereal behemoth that even major ethereal physiology masters would not be able to handle. Multiple of them could wear it down slowly and eventually push it back, but to quickly defeat it, a unique power or an apex ethereal physiology master was required. But how could its body and shell be split apart like this by Achilles? They didn't have time to think as coincidentally. The figure of Bishi roaring out in pain and shock was shooting towards their direction to get away from a levitating figure of Achilles who was looking at it with unfathomably bright eyes. As if he didn't see a dragon, but a meal. Stop it! Luna roared out as she leaped off the warship, 3 Andromeda Sentinels moving around her as behind Luna, a massive manifestation of a moon began to bloom. As it ran towards their direction, Selene and the other 3 ethereal physiology masters already went towards it to stop it, as the Bishi already sensed them even in its rising fear, its anger giving way as it roared out. Fuck off. Boom! A burst of blue-gold rings of flames erupted around Bishi that Selene had to form dozens of silver mirrors to protect herself from, while the other 3 ethereal physiology masters bellowed out as they were flung back. Only Luna was left behind as she affirmed one thing. No, that was a Bishi, all right. Its power was there as it repelled 4 ethereal physiology masters easily. It wasn't that it was weak, but simply that Achilles, who had cracked its turtle shell and left it so grievously injured, was just that powerful. Her expression became firm at this as from the moon behind her, tendrils of moonlight erupted out like spiderwebs to latch towards Bishi. You will stay. Her voice thundered out as the light of the moon illuminated everything nearby. During the day, amidst rays of the sun, moonlight bloomed. Bishi flapped the illusory wings behind its shattered and bloody shell as it turned back to make sure the one it was running away from had not gotten close. Everything it currently knew being shaken as it genuinely felt the threat of death just now. He, Bishi, the son of the Dragon King. His body should be protected with layers of primordial energy and natal draconic energy, and yet, AWO, it roared out as it could not let that being catch up. Move, bitch! Its jaws opened wide to release a hurricane of blue-gold flames that shredded the webs of moonlight, and it sought to escape into the city, first as down below. Marine turtle behemoths also spread out chaotically. Luna faced the power of the Bishi sternly as around her. The 3 Andromeda Sentinels exploded with purple radiance of shields to lock down everything. One sought to run, another sought to stop them. And the threat Bishi was keeping an eye on this whole time disappeared inexplicably as Bishi felt a sense of rising uncertainty and fear. Its primordial energy spread out all around to be ready to defend against that monster. And from that vast distance, nigh instantaneously, Achilles appeared from one of the many dazzling rays of moonlight that were brought out by the illusory moon behind Luna. It was the usage of lunaportation eye. The moment he appeared, a blinding solar beam of light thundered down onto Bishi from above, while purple crystals began to bloom to form a box on all sides. Boom! Facing a scorching solar beam that scalded its already injured body, Bishi gathered its primordial energy as it roared out at this time. Stop! What ancient one are you? Why hide in a human body? What ancient one was he? Bishi asked this as it did not believe at all that Achilles was just a normal human being, but as it felt an enclosure of purple crystals form around it. It continued to roar out as its dignity of a dragon was being torn apart. I am the ninth son of the Dragon King. If you do anything to me, you will sow enmity with the dragon race itself. Even a personage such as you would not wish for this, right? Right. Boom.